Welcome to the breast of Tommy Boyd, a talk radio special festive 4-hour funorama of inspired jollity, where we take a freshly killed, unfeathered retrospective at the only show in broadcasting which publicly removes its giblets almost every day. In the time-honoured tradition of proper radio, we begin with a totally tubular top 20 checklist of this year's most poptastic Tommy Boyd show proposals.
The breast of Tommy Boyd. Number 20.
And propping up the pile at number 20, it's Ice Cream Vans, the Quatermash Theory, 97.
Number 19.
One place above at 19, Celebrity Punch-Ups with Scott Chisholm.
Number 18.
At 18 down 2, it's Why Don't We Just Criminalize Everything?
Number 17.
Let's let wild animals roam the streets again.
Number 16.
Let's turn the Isle of Man into an old folks' home. Nice idea.
Number 15.
At 15, up 3 from 18, Scotland. What are we going to do with that?
Number 14.
Bridges. Huh, who needs them?
Number 13.
Unlucky for some, but not small businesses. Why bother? The bank's going to get you anyway.
Number 12.
At 12, the Dirty Dozen. Fat people. Do you need our help?
Number 11.
It's mental health. It's not all that important.
Number 10.
At number 10, it's Elvis Presley. What a tosspot.
Number 9.
At number 9, Ice. Not all it's cracked up to be.
Number 8.
Let's let the Hells Angels teach your kids.
Number 7.
At number 7, Fire Escapes. That's cheating.
Number 6.
Outside toilets, they're fantastic.
Number 5.
At 5, Legs. Who needs them?
Number 4.
Salvation Army. Let's get them tooled up.
Number 3.
Glue. The 4th most important substance for life. And
Number 2.
shouting. It's fantastic. So, here it is, pop pickers.
Number 1.
Deja vu.
The breast of Tommy Boyd.
I can feel some deja vu coming on.
Mark calls from Essex. You're on Talk Radio. Mark, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Tommy.
Mark.
A long time ago, I was 12 at the time, and I woke up one morning with a complete sweat, and to this day I remember this dream, that I was being held head high by all my friends as we were walking along, and I was in tears. And this memory just kept with me and kept with me and kept with me. And within 2 weeks, I was playing football. I slid in for a tackle, and I ripped my entire knee open. The cut was so bad, kneecap halfway down my shin bone, that they couldn't actually, I wasn't allowed to bend my knee. So in order to get me to the doctor, my friends had to carry me head high to the doctor. And it was, as I was being carried, I suddenly remembered the dream and stopped crying and thought, Christ, I've been here before.
Yes, and you had.
And it was bizarre, but it happens. Every now and again it happens. It might be a word that just triggers off in the back of your head that says, that's been done before, that's been said before. But bizarre feelings.
I hacked through a science pamphlet once which claimed that scientists were getting close to understanding time. And they were coming to believe that time did not exist in the way that we believe it does, that everything that's going to happen has already happened, and that everything that has happened is going to happen, and that all human experience exists in the same time, which they then went on to argue would explain not only ghosts, but also, because they're there with us now. Julian calls from the M4. You're on Talk Radio. Julian, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Tom. You're not going to believe this.
What?
I thought this was a wind-up. I thought you were ill and it was a tape of a show.
What?
I can tell you, I've listened to this before.
What do you mean?
This show that you're doing now, you'll have a woman phone up and she's going to relate to you and say, my God, I thought I was the only one that done it. And she's going to say about the hands on her chest.
Well,
I've heard this show before. I'm sorry.
But where? How?
I don't know, but it didn't. I can't remember being on this stretch of the road. I certainly wasn't driving.
Well, you mean you've experienced part of what you're experiencing now before, but not all of it.
I can't remember all of this show, but I can certainly.
Where
remember.
were you when? Where did you feel as though you were when you remembered this?
Where was I?
Yes, I mean, this is a very clear example of deja vu you're enjoying at the moment.
Well, I thought it was either that or you're putting some sort of little messages in a tape or something.
No.
I don't feel... I feel a bit queasy.
Queasy.
I mean, this woman, I think she's from the south of England.
Yeah?
And she's going to come on and go, oh, my God, I thought I was an
Well,
idiot.
wait, this would be more than déjà vu if you're able to predict what's going to happen in the future. I mean, then you really are making déjà vu work for you. There's a big race this afternoon. Media Star is the favourite. I don't suppose...
I tell you what, I wish I could... I'm going to do 6 numbers tonight.
All right, boy, thank you for your call.
Rest of Tommy Boyd.
I can feel some déjà vu coming on.
Bill calls now from the Midlands. You're on Talk Radio. Bill, good afternoon.
Hiya, Tommy.
Bill?
Tommy, top man, top programme. Tommy, you ain't going to believe this. I'm driving my truck. I'm 6'2", 17 stone. I believe in everything. I believe in your show, right? And you start talking about fingers and dreams, and I thought to myself, I've heard this before. Tommy's mentioned this before. Then I pull up at the customers, start unloading my wagon, and this guy comes on talking about football injuries. And I says to my customer, this guy's going to say he was hoisted above his head. And he was.
God.
Tommy, either this is the biggest wind-up since Albion's won the cup,
Steady.
or this is X-Files time, Tommy. I've heard this before, Tommy. You've done this 3 weeks ago. You must have done.
Have you got a hand free?
Yeah.
Can you reach around to the back of your head and see if there's a small almond-shaped scar there, or a mark from a wound that would be perhaps 4 to 6 weeks
Tommy,
old, Bill?
You've done this before, 3 weeks ago. You've done a programme about dreams, haven't you?
No.
You must have done. That bloke I've heard before.
You're not the first caller on this show who has said that they are experiencing a very powerful sense of déjà vu this afternoon, between
Tommy,
2 and 3 this afternoon.
your programme's always on between 2 and 4 because it's fantastic.
It is.
Right?
Yes.
Because you're a top man.
There's nothing like it.
And I've heard this record before, Tommy. You've mentioned dreams and fingers expanding.
Fascinating, isn't it, Bill? Isn't it fascinating being a human being? We're fundamentally talking about something which I suspect we all experience with varying degrees of frequency during the course of our life, and perhaps with varying degrees of strength as well during the course of our life. It may happen to us from time to time and we hardly notice it. But I'm convinced that pretty much all of us remember the odd occasion when we just thought that we had been wherever we were before, even though we hadn't. Or we're hearing something that we ought to be hearing for the first time, but here we are thinking, I've heard that. How can that be? Joanne calls from Bradford. You're on Talk Radio. Joanne, good afternoon.
Hello, Tommy.
Hello.
I feel a bit sick because I just rang you up because at the beginning of the show I started to laugh because I thought you were trying to wind people up about this. You know,
déjà vu seems to be very real.
I feel I'm sure that you've done that first bit before. It might not be the same all the way through, but I'm sure I've heard your introduction bit before.
Well, that's classic déjà vu, Joanne.
I know, but I'm having disbelief. I can't believe this is really déjà vu because it feels very, very real.
But have you experienced déjà vu before? Surely you have.
Yeah, little bits, but nothing as strong as this. All my blood's rushed from my hands. I feel really...
All the blood's rushed from your hands,
yeah, you know,
steady.
to my heart. You know, like when you nearly have a car accident and you get that shocked feeling.
When you have a what accident?
You know when you come close to having a car accident?
Oh, I see, yeah.
And then all the blood rushes away and you get all tingly hands.
Right.
I feel like that.
If there is a parallel universe, or if, as Stephen Hawking predicts, the universe will eventually slow down and start to contract and time will go backwards and you will live your life again only in complete reverse, with all these theories flying at us in such a way that it makes the average episode of Star Trek look mundane, right? Real life. Okay, where's God in all of this? Let's go to Mark, who calls from Glasgow. You're on Talk Radio. Mark, good afternoon.
Hello there, Tommy.
Mark.
I think I might be losing my marbles.
Go on.
Well, I've heard all of this programme before, except for the last caller and except for about 3 calls.
Extraordinary.
Yeah.
Quite extraordinary. Auto-suggestion perhaps lies behind it, Mark, or something stranger?
Something stranger, perhaps. Yeah.
Are you able
quite
to...
perplexing.
But most people's sensations of déjà vu are quite fleeting, last perhaps
They are,
2 to 5 seconds. But in your case, you're saying that you have had a very sharp sensation of déjà vu, which has lasted for how long now?
The whole hour.
Good God.
Kicked in with the intro.
As soon as we mentioned déjà vu?
Yeah.
Ah. Auto-suggestion?
Well, perhaps, yeah, because I've been thinking about this, and I'm thinking maybe part of it is like...
Do you believe in alien abduction?
Well, I do think that there's more going on that we know about, put it that way. I wouldn't dare to...
Have you at any period over the last 6 weeks woken up after what should have been a good night's sleep and felt curiously tired and distraught?
Yeah, I have actually, yeah.
Could you reach around the back of your head? Because a lot of abductees report this small, what appears to be the remnants of an incision in the back of their head. Anything there?
Well, this might freak you out a little bit, but on Monday I was at the doctor's, and it was for this strange skin, this is honestly the truth, skin condition that's come on just recently, and he can't tell me what it is.
Whereabouts?
It's on my shoulders.
Does it manifest on your shoulders?
On my shoulders and my neck, and it's little almond shape.
Almond shapes?
Yeah, where there is no sort of skin colour. So there you go.
Well, hang in there, Mark.
I'll try.
Thank you for your call.
Thank you.
Good luck.
And you. Bye-bye.
I sometimes wonder whether some things are best left alone. But anyway, onwards and upwards. On the last day of July this year, Thursday the 31st, at about 3:15 in the afternoon, we were to shock our listeners with the revelation of one of natural philosophy's most closely guarded secrets. We revealed that there were not 3, but 4 base elemental substances vital for the continued existence of life on this planet: air, water, food, and glue. The shockwaves emanated from the show were to cause national and global controversy amongst scientists, politicians, and fishmongers alike, not to mention a few listeners.
Rest of Tommy Boyd.
Fish.
Glue is wonderful. It's everywhere, all around me.
Is it really?
Yeah. My question is, glue.
Yes.
It sticks when you put two things together. It dries.
Yes.
Holds things together. But how come the glue never sticks to inside the bottle?
No, it's a very, very good question. And how old were you when you first found yourself asking that?
Well, not very long ago.
No, you see, it's a test of your own intelligence. That's important. How come we don't digest our own stomachs?
Yeah, I know.
By the same token.
It's just one of these things.
You have acid in your stomach which will digest everything, including other animals' stomachs. But it knows not to digest your own one. Is glue as clever as one's bile?
Yeah, I know.
You know.
I'm just amazed by how glue doesn't stick to the bottle.
No.
I just want to know how.
John calls from Manchester. You're on Talk Radio. John, good afternoon.
Afternoon, Tom.
John.
I was watching a television programme last week about supersonic aircraft.
Yeah.
Concorde's wings are glued on. And I thought, hell, I can't stick together 2 pieces of paper and make them stay together. I can't stick the head on a broken ornament and make it stay on.
This is fantastic news. Are you seriously telling us that Concorde's wings are glued on?
Yeah, they just have like you've got the wing section and the body section.
Yes.
They're dimpled like on a golf ball. And there's one little spot of glue in each dimple.
Yeah.
It's put together, then they heat it up. A chemical reaction takes place in the glue, and then it sets then because of the heat. I thought, how would you go if you get it slightly wrong? It's a bit misaligned, you know.
But I would have thought they would have used rivets or something.
So would I. I always fancy going on Concorde, and I'm a bit dubious now. Like I say, if I can't stick the head on ornament, how can they guarantee that wing's staying on?
So Concorde is just like one massive airfix kit.
It is, yeah.
Nora!
It's unbelievable, isn't it?
And it's never crashed.
And I was reading a book, they said about animal bones. I don't know if they're still used, but I was reading a book about the buffalo slaughters in America.
Yes.
And one glue factory alone processed 300,000 ton of buffalo bone into glue.
So they used to make glue out of buffalo?
It's quite a few tubes, that, isn't it?
Yes.
So next time you're on Concorde, have a swift gander and see if it's coming apart a bit. And give it another bit of a spread of super glue or something.
I guarantee you, next time I'm near Concorde, and I occasionally drive past Heathrow, I've never been on it, but if the next time I'm near enough to look at Concorde, I will look and see if the wings have been bolted on or whether they've just been glued.
Take my word for it, they were glued on.
Fantastic call, John. Thank you for
Bye,
that.
Tom.
Isn't glue just fantastic? Alan in Watford is on Talk Radio, and you have a solution to a listener's query. Alan, you're on Talk.
I hope it's a solution. Is it because they have the lid on the bottle? They don't have a chance to dry?
That's a very good idea, I would assume. But on the other hand, if you stick 2 things together, right, then there's no air there, is there?
Yes, there is. It's open.
Yeah, but if you get a bit of paper...
If you 2 bits of wood...
Yes.
...and you use a bit of glue...
Yes.
...then you're not going to put them in a sealed container, are you?
No, but if you get a bit of wood and you put glue on it and then you put another bit of wood on it, then there's no air there around. You've got wood, glue, wood, and there's no air anywhere there, is there?
Wood is absorbent and the air can get through to the glue. You're not putting thick chunks of glue on.
Well, wood isn't absorbent. You can't breathe through wood.
Wood is porous.
But not that porous, is it? You can't inhale through a plank of wood.
Porous enough to let the wood through for it to dry.
That doesn't... What? But no, well, maybe the glue doesn't dry in order to stick. Well, you can't breathe through wood. Wood isn't porous.
Wood
Is it?
Yes, wood can breathe. There is air in... Why is it wet inside wood?
Well, because it's a living thing that's got its own irrigation system. It's got its own waterways, hasn't it?
And you said the most important thing is oxygen. You said that.
Yes.
And everything that has life has oxygen, and therefore it can breathe, and there is air in it.
No, but a tree trunk doesn't have oxygen passing through it.
It has it in the wood. There is air in wood.
No, there isn't air in wood.
What about woodworm? How can they crawl through without air? They live.
Well, because they start a hole at the beginning, and then the air goes through the hole. They're not encased in the wood, are they?
Roots of a tree have holes in to get the water in.
Well, they're capillaries. They're not holes. That's like saying you've got holes in you, but they're veins.
Well, we're actually deviating from the point about the glue, why it's drying. OK, we're talking about wood.
Yes, I know. I'm only testing your argument. That's how it is. I'm just testing your argument.
OK, but I still say wood has... Actually, if you would have covered it further, you could have said, what about when you stick 2 bits of metal?
Look, if I put you in a box, all right, a wooden box, all right, would you suffocate?
Depends how thick the wood is.
No, it doesn't.
Of course it does. You put me in 2 bits of balsa wood, blocks of balsa wood, I'll be able to survive quite happily.
No, you wouldn't.
Put me in oak that's 10 foot thick.
You wouldn't. I challenge you to spend 20 minutes in a balsa wood box. You'd be brown bread cocker.
You think so?
Definitely.
I won't doubt your inferior judgment on this one, but I think regarding why glue doesn't dry in a bottle, it's because there is no air or lack of air.
Listen, that, Alan, is a very good idea, and it could indeed explain why some glues don't stick to the bottle. But as to whether or not you can breathe through wood, I think you're onto a loser. We're celebrating what we think may be the 4th most important substance to life as we know it on this planet, human life at least. Glue. Tony calls from Southampton. Tony, you're on Talk Radio. Glue, the 4th most important substance to man.
Hello, Tom. I just got to say to you, thanks for making me laugh about that bloke in the wooden box. I've just calmed down. I couldn't believe it.
Did you hear
anyway, I was doing the washing up, right?
Yes.
And I think I've discovered a new glue.
Yes?
It's cornflakes, sugar and milk.
Yes.
Because I've had a dish there from the breakfast, and I was taking me about 10 minutes to get the cornflake off the bottom.
It sets, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right, the other serious point was, I wondered if you knew that the medics in Vietnam use super glue for the, when they're out in action.
Wounds.
Stick the wounds together.
Stitching wounds.
Yeah, just to stick them together.
Holding them together until they could be treated properly.
Yeah.
Doesn't surprise me in the slightest. Why didn't they think of that before? Using glue on the battlefield. Hello, Sam, you're on Talk Radio.
Hiya.
Hiya.
First, I'd like to say, wow, and I don't believe that glue is the fourth thing you need to survive your life.
The 4th most important substance on Earth?
That's the one.
What is then?
Fire.
Fire?
You cannot survive without fire.
Yes, you could get by without fire.
No, you can't.
You could.
You need heat. And that was the only natural form. Go back to the Stone Age.
Heat's handy.
No, you need it to survive. We did this in school not so long ago.
But you could eat salads.
Pardon?
You could eat salads.
You could eat salads.
And wrap up.
And wrap up, yeah. But you need heat, and fire is the only form of natural heat that you can get.
All right, I'll take your point that fire is quite important. But I think, look at your fire. Isn't it glued together?
We don't have a fireplace.
You don't have a fireplace. Look at your radiators.
Okay.
They've got glue.
Yeah.
After a fashion.
But then you don't necessarily have to have radiators. You could just have an open fire, and that wouldn't have any glue on it. You could have a stone circle, some wood.
But you wouldn't die without fire, would you?
Well, yeah, if you had heat, you would.
Well, you'd move south, wouldn't you? Because I know Chester's cold.
Yeah.
But,
it's dismal at the moment.
It is, yeah. But North Africa, they don't need fire in North Africa, do they?
I don't know.
Well, as I say, they could eat...
fire. You couldn't survive without the sun.
Sorry?
The sun is fire. You could not survive without that.
I'll tell you what, I'll agree with you that the sun is more important than glue. I will agree with you there. That's a very important point.
Thank you.
You win.
I'm also a newcomer to Talk Radio.
How did you find us?
My mum listens to it all the time.
Right.
I was just having a midday snack and started listening.
And you heard a bloke talking about glue being the fourth most important substance to life.
Yeah.
And you realised that you knew more than he did.
Yeah.
Good. I'm glad you rang, Sam.
Thanks a lot.
You keep watching the skies and keep listening. Call me again sometime.
Thanks a lot.
Nice to talk to you.
Bye.
Tommy Boyd.
This is Talk Radio. Welcome back to the breast of Tommy Boyd. On Wednesday the 16th of April this year, we bit the bullet and decided to speak for the nation on a truth which, for 50 long years, had been hidden under the fog of euphoria and sequined hype. So hard-hitting was the subject matter that in the aftermath of the programme, many of our callers were forced onto the witness protection scheme for their own safety. We decided to blow the lid on one of the world's most overrated country and western artists, Elvis Presley. Great actor, terrible singer. Not as good as Bernie Flint, and certainly less of an icon than Keith Harrison Orville.
The breast of Tommy Boyd. Elvis Presley. What a tosspot.
Julian calls from Wiltshire. You're on Talk Radio, Julian.
Afternoon, Tommy.
Good afternoon, Julian.
I agree with you.
Thank you.
I mean, his old films and his songs, I used to be embarrassed for the man. My cousin used to come over from Ireland and say, have you heard this Elvis record? Apart from the fact that it was probably about 6 months out of date.
Yeah.
Oh, it was terrible.
Yeah.
And as for wanting to be a drug enforcement, you probably wanted to cut out the middleman.
Yes, quite. Exactly.
You know? He's a legend in his own imagination.
In his own imagination. Beautifully put, Julian. It beats me why so many Brits want to make Elvis their number one icon. When this country, particularly during the 70s and the early 80s, produced so many genuine icons. People who had a sense of humour, people who wrote memorable music. If they turned out in strange clothes, it was with their tongues firmly in their cheek. They were good people. They were people from amongst us, people who could live with us. Elvis set himself way... He set himself so distant from the rest of us, it's no wonder, is it, that there are an awful lot of people who are probably a sandwich short of a picnic who believe that he's come back to earth. Isn't it nice to get this one out in the open?
Well, I've just got to say, as I was driving along, I thought this is fantastic, because it's what I've thought of for years about Elvis.
Hooray!
Every word you said is true.
Exactly.
And the thing about it is, I think really that Elvis probably was the beginning. I mean, again, I don't know what else was around before him, but he, to me, was the first hype. There's still the people around, and you still see them, 50 or 60, dressed up in their Levi, in their jean jackets, and they won't let go of him.
No.
And the thing is, sometimes I think that's all they've got to clutch to.
Yeah.
But, I mean, they actually say things about Elvis, like, God, the man used to sit down and he used to eat 40 Big Macs, as if it was some big deal, something to be proud of.
Absolutely.
And it's like you say, the role model, it's non-existent. He did nothing for anybody except take money off them.
He was a plonker, wasn't he, Dave?
Well, absolutely. I tell you, he looked a plonker. Honestly, I mean, there are records that you can listen to over the last 20, 30, even 40 years, some of the old classic records that are classics.
Yeah.
Because whenever you hear them, you might not have heard them for a few years. They come on the radio and you go, yes, great record. But for him, there's nothing, that comes in it.
What was his worst song, Elvis, do you reckon? Because I could never stand that one about the polk salad. Do you know what I mean?
To be honest, I'll tell you what.
Yeah.
If I said I knew him, I'd be lying.
There, Dave. Thank you for your call. It's good to talk to somebody who is out. Like me. We're out. Elvis was a twit. He was. He was a fat, funny-looking, funny-sounding fellow who waddled around the stage in a jumpsuit with rhinestones on it and a silly little cloak. You could act, yes. You couldn't really sing, and you couldn't really work the words out. I sent a letter to the postman. It's his job. Linda calls from Shoreham. You're on Talk Radio. Linda.
Hello, Tommy.
Linda.
I'd like to just ask you something, and only you can tell me the answer.
Ooh.
Why is it all right for you to tell us all about how Elvis Presley was a drug addict and everything, and yet it's not all right for us to talk about Paul McCartney? Is it because Paul McCartney's still alive and he'd sew the pants off you, and Elvis Presley can't?
Quite possibly, yes.
I thought it would be, and that's all I've got to say.
And you said it well. I'm grateful for your call.
Okay.
Bye, Linda.
Bye.
Jim calls from Birmingham. You're on Talk Radio. Jim.
Hi, Tommy, all right?
Hi, Jim.
Totally agree with you, everything you say about Elvis.
Thank you.
I think he was a very lucky man in Buddy Holly died when he did.
Yeah.
Because out of the two of them, I think Buddy Holly was the better singer-songwriter. And I ain't saying Elvis was a bad actor, but I think he would have struggled to have got a part on Crossroads. And I do honestly think that John Lennon had more about him in his little finger than Elvis ever had in his old frame, so to speak.
Yeah. He'd have been all right in Panto, Elvis.
Yes.
Because there was something sort of burlesque about him, wasn't there? Something ridiculous.
And I don't know about if he ever wrote a song himself, but if you listen to an Elvis hour on the radio, all the songs sound the same.
They do, don't they?
Every tune sounds the same, just that the words are different. And as for the worst record he ever made...
Yes.
What was that one about the dog? Old Shep, was it, or something?
Oh, that's the one, boy. Well done.
So corny, Tommy, don't you think?
It's so crass, isn't it?
It is so corny,
Old
honestly.
Shep.
That's the one. I think it's Old Shep.
And it's one of those sort of, rubbish old songs about old Shep, what is it, a loyal and faithful friend, and...
Then he goes off to the war and he saves his life when he comes back or something, and the dog's been dead 10 years or something.
And who was he to sing about what it's like in the ghetto?
True. So true.
You know that one he sang about?
He never knew what it was like to grow up in the gutter.
Old and lonely boy who died in the ghetto. You had to have subtitles, didn't you?
You did.
What was that word?
The four Beatles at least were working class lads. They knew what it was like to grow up in the, the slums of Liverpool. I don't think Elvis knew what it was like to be poor.
No.
He come from a pampered background, didn't he?
Jim, great to talk to you. This is so liberating. Elvis was a twerp. Simon calls from Cheltenham. You're on Talk Radio. Simon?
Yeah, I've got to agree. I reckon Elvis is just the biggest farce that we've ever had.
Yeah.
I can't agree more. All I remember about Elvis was him dying on the pan with his trousers round his ankles, wearing a nappy. Yeah.
Okay.
What sort of person is this that wears a nappy,
he wore
for God's
nappies.
sake?
Yeah.
You know?
And he died because his heart gave out because he was straining to go.
Right. Yeah, what a guy.
Way to go.
I've got to say, though, when you're talking about role models, surely rock and rollers shouldn't be a role model.
Well, it happens, though, doesn't it? You're right. I see what you're saying, but it happens.
Yeah, I know what you're saying. Like we try to hype these people up to be role models, but really they should be anti-role models.
Is Eric Cantona a role model? There's this picture which has been published today, I don't know if you've seen it, of him as God.
Right, no, I haven't seen it.
No, but is he a role model?
Well, I would say no, but, if he's doing things that our parents don't want us to do,
yes.
When you're young, surely the whole attraction of rock and roll, football, all the rest of it is these, sort of dangerous figures.
Elvis Presley. What a tosspot.
Rena calls from Brighton.
Yeah, hello, Tommy Boyd.
You're on Talk Radio, Rena.
I know, and I'm ever so cross with you.
Yes?
I'm not absolutely, a fanatic about Elvis, but I think you've got a diabolical cheek, and he has got a lovely voice, and I think it's nasty of you to upset the people who do adore him, and don't you think it's nasty of you?
What about all the people who've had to lead quiet, shy, cowed lives because of people like you, Rena, who keep rubbing in this myth that Elvis was great?
I never mentioned him. It's you that's brought him to the fore. You're giving him publicity, dear.
I'm not giving him publicity, I'm just putting the record straight.
No, but you could better, you let people rest in peace. Have you ever heard that one? Rest in peace?
I don't think Elvis is spinning in his grave, although he can
No, but
spin.
if he can hear you, I bet he'll come back and haunt you tonight. And I'll tell you what, he did have a lovely voice, and I like his records.
I'll tell you what they said about him, Rena. They said he's got the voice of a black man. Well, get a black man, then.
What are you talking about?
They said Elvis Presley's a great singer. He's got the voice of a black man. That's what they used to say. How can a white man sound like that? That's what they used to say.
Well, whatever voice he had, it's very, very pleasant to hear. If Elvis is listening, he's not going to be very happy, is he?
Elvis is listening.
Well,
Rena,
he might be.
You reckon he's in a laundrette in Wapping, then?
No, I don't mean alive, if he's
Yes,
dead,
you do.
listening.
Look, mate, he's either dead or he's alive.
No, that's not the point. You know what I'm talking about.
You think if he's
And
listening
I
in
think
heaven?
you're out of... You know I adore you, but I just don't think you're being very kind
Well, I'll tell you what
today.
I think, Rena. He became a role model for an awful lot of young people, and it didn't do them any good. I think we need to set the record straight. This is not the kind of man you need to emulate.
No, but then you've brought him to the fore, haven't you?
Yes.
Well, why didn't you leave him alone and leave him at peace?
Because there are an awful lot of people like yourself, Rena, who have yet to see the light.
But I don't want to see a light. I just like to listen to his records. I'm not fanatic. I don't go to meetings about him or marches or anything like that.
Haven't you heard all the people on this show lining up to say, thank God somebody is telling the truth about Elvis Presley?
Yes,
it's
that's why
never
I'm on.
happened before.
That's why I've come on, because nobody else is sticking up for him.
All these people, he didn't need you to stick up for him. All these people that are given succour by the truth, Rena, and you want to censor us.
Well, I think he had a lovely voice, a melting voice, and I like his sound.
Thank you for your call. Voilà. Frequent over 100 Elvis way now. Is that all right, you? Still remember she's the Elvis Presley. How did he get away with it? Jeff calls from Liverpool.
Oh, bloody hell. Hey, Tommy.
Jeff.
Sorry about that. I wish I could get my hand down this phone.
Yeah? Why, is it broken?
Oh, you talk about plunkers. I know a bigger one, and his name's TB. No, these people are talking about Elvis at his demise. Half of these people are only, I don't think they're over 20 or 30.
It's quite a demise, though, wasn't it?
They're talking about his... But did they ever hear Elvis at his peak? And we'll talk about people at the peak. Have you heard Mystery Train?
Yeah, we've heard all these songs.
You go home and listen to Mystery Train.
I don't want to.
Reconsider Baby.
I don't
Trying
want
to get to you.
No, thank you.
Listen to all them.
It's tragic.
He was fantastic. Listen, in my day, when you turned the radio on and you listened to Ted Heath Orchestra and Johnny Ray and Frankie Lane, then all of a sudden out the radio came Mystery Train. That's what you want to talk about. Imagine the effect that had on us as teenagers.
Well, he wasn't
I'm
the
54.
first, you know? He wasn't the first. You're making out that he swept the big bands away. He didn't.
He did, Tommy.
No, he didn't.
I was around, you weren't.
No, I've read my history books. If you look...
Never mind reading the history books.
What was the first rock and roll #1 in the States?
Rocket 88. Jackie Benton.
Okay.
I know me stuff, Tommy.
Was that Elvis? Yeah, right. And that doesn't sound terribly much like the same guy as Elvis Presley.
No, he wasn't.
Right, so
But
Elvis didn't do it first.
He was, well, it was...
When was that? When was that song?
Well, was the Beatles the first group?
No, I want to... You're saying that he invented rock and roll music.
I didn't say that, Tommy.
You're saying that
I'm not saying he invented it.
What are you saying?
But he was fantastic.
No, he wasn't.
When he was 19, when you heard Mystery Train, it knocked you out your cradle, Tommy. I can't understand why all these impressionists portray him at his worst.
But Jeff, to get like that, he had to have been a weak man.
Before the Colonel got hold of him, he was brilliant. Once the Colonel got hold of him...
Jeff, you can't have this. It wasn't the Colonel Parker. He was a
once
weak
the Colonel...
man.
But Elvis said when he was a young lad, you listened to the exuberance, the sheer exuberance of Mystery Train.
And what did he do that had any depth to it?
Well, I'm not worried about depth. I just
No, you're
like
not, are
pop
you?
music.
Yeah.
I'm not listening for a message. I don't want to be told. I mean, I'm not looking for a message in music. I just like music to enjoy.
And
I'm
how
not
do you-
worried about... I'm not worried...
But what do you enjoy about it?
Well, if I want to listen, if I want to listen to philosophy or read about philosophy, I'll get Plato. But if I want to listen to rock music,
you should.
I'll listen to Elvis.
Yeah.
I just want to put a record on. I want to listen to guitar, bass, drum. That's it.
Mind you, he was a good actor.
No, crap, lousy actor. Brilliant songs.
You see,
brilliant singer.
you're upside down.
Yeah, okay. Bye, Tom.
Bye now.
I wish I could get my hand down this throne. This
Down
phone.
this throne?
This phone.
You see, you Elvis fans, you're all the same.
Yeah, you've got a cheek on and a plunker.
Vic calls from Tunbridge. You're on Talk Radio. Vic.
Hello, Tommy.
Sir.
I've been roaring in laughter this afternoon with your wit and humour about Elvis Presley.
Telling it like it is.
I've always been a fan of Elvis Presley, and I have not a lot of his tapes, but a few. But having listened this afternoon what you've been saying, it's so true what you say. I've just realised what a twit I am to have all his a lot of his recordings, and I'm going to chuck them all in the dustbin in 5 minutes' time.
Good for you, Vic. You've seen the light. Anne calls from Belfast. You're on Talk Radio. Anne, hello.
Hello, Tommy.
Anne.
I noticed all these ones that are putting Elvis down are all men. Do you know what it is? It's just jealousy.
No.
Jealousy.
No, he was a twerp, Anne.
No, he was not. He was one of the best singers that ever was.
No, he wasn't.
Ever.
No, he wasn't.
And I underline ever.
Yes, well, you're entitled to that opinion, but only just.
And as for his acting, I don't agree with her. You said he was a good actor. He was a terrible actor.
I won't have you saying that about my Elvis. He could act. And
No, he couldn't.
If he'd stuck with acting, all right, he wouldn't have gone terribly wrong.
No,
Because
he
you don't
couldn't
get
act.
actors in Las Vegas, and it was Las Vegas that did for him all that fast food,
No, he couldn't act.
all
He
those
definitely
smoky
couldn't act.
casinos.
But he could sing.
Got to squeeze Martin in very quickly. Martin, are you there?
Indeed, yes, Tom.
Go on, then off you go.
When I was a lad, old Shep was a pup. Over hills and meadows we'd roam, just a boy and his dog. We were both full of fun. We grew up together this way.
Martin, thank you very much indeed for giving us some idea of what the King could have sounded like if only he'd had lessons. I'm Tommy Boyd. This is Talk Radio.
Rest of Tommy Boyd. You're listening to Talk Radio, the nation's interactive station.
Ground control to Major Tom.
We've been expecting you, Mr. Boyd. His is the worst voice you will ever hear.
Will he offer me his teeth?
The Tommy Boyd Show will teach you nothing. Nothing.
Always read the label.
Nothing but iniquity and wickedness.
Welcome back to the Crest of Tommy Boyd. About 2 years ago, Talk Radio transmitted the first ever Wonderful Hour, and it rapidly became a broadcast institution synonymous with the raw, undiluted petrol of human emotion. What we're about to sip upon is a distilled and fermented broadcast elixir of real-life experience, drained from a still of happiness, regret, hope. Lachlan calls from Aberdeen. Lachlan, you're on Talk Radio. What's wonderful?
Doing silly things is wonderful. Go up to a toll booth.
Yes.
Hand over the 30 pence for your toll.
Yeah.
And then hand over another 30 pence and say, that's for the guy behind me. He hasn't got any change for it with him today. Although the guy behind you is a complete stranger.
Really?
And then...
Hello, Jenny. What's wonderful?
Ice cold beer in a nice cold glass where you get the drips of the condensation going down the outside.
No. Yes.
Isn't it?
Yes.
Isn't it? Just,
yes.
Isn't it? Oh,
yes.
And on a Friday night when you get home, it's the last day of work and it's the weekend, and you get a couple of bottles and you put them in the freezer to make them go really cold.
Yeah.
And
I said, wait. And you run them under the tap before you put them in the freezer.
Yes.
So that you get a real misty, gristy thing on the outside. Oh,
and then because you have a curry on a Friday night, you make a curry on a Friday night, you have one, because you can't have a curry and not have a beer, can you?
No.
So, and you take that top off and heaven, ice cold beer.
I went into one of the many wonderful local pubs for a meal the other night, and the weather was absolutely brilliant.
Which one?
The Crown in Shorewall.
Beautiful.
Do you know it?
No.
No? Well,
I'm sure it's beautiful.
It's a wonderful place. My wife goes up to the bar. She's got a menu. She's beginning to wonder about food. I'm sort of just wandering about, and I wander up to the bar, and the landlord's around. I said, "Super day," and he turned away. He walked off. He said, "I'll go and find out." Wow. And Liz said, "He thinks you said, what's the soup of the day?" I said, "Hi, come back." That's what we like down here, Tommy, you see, quick.
Tell you what cheered me up, that music you've got?
Yeah.
That diddle do 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 do. You know the bit I'm on about? You know the bit, I'm not a very good singer, but you know the bit I'm on about. It reminds you of them twilight campfires.
I'm just trying to find the bit of music that you're talking about. Can you do it again?
Diddle do 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 do.
Diddle do 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 do. I can't place it, mate.
Yeah, the one you've just played, the last bit you just played, the last jingle bit.
What? Straight out of the ad break or after the news? 5 minutes past 3 or quarter past 3?
5 minutes past 3. You know, you said it reminded you of that credit card advert when he catches his Rugalite.
Oh, the Casbah music.
Yes, you got it.
Get the Casbah music out.
Yeah, get it on.
We'll just whack it in.
I'm going to pull over. I'm going to go dance in the field.
All right, okay. Well, no, you can't do that because you won't be able to hear it unless you've got very loud stereo.
Yeah, all right then.
All right,
well, I'll listen to it now and dance later.
Here we go.
Talk to Tommy Boyd. Free call 0500 1053 89.
Come on, Barry.
I can see them belly dancers now eating their Turkish delight.
That's what's lifted you.
Hey, that's brilliant, that.
Yeah.
I play that to all the truck stop.
Yeah, as long as it makes you think of a flat belly, Barry, you're a happy man.
All right, Tom.
Nice talking to you.
Cheers, Tom.
Cheers for now. Paul calls from Barnsley. You're on Talk Radio. Paul, what's wonderful?
I'd like to say it's wonderful, Tommy, to have my son coming back home from St Bart's Hospital. He's been there for a month now. I'm getting rather upset.
Okay. All right. Get upset if you want to. No one minds.
He's been there for a month. He's coming home this evening. Excuse me.
How old is he now?
He's 13, Tom.
How is he?
He's fine. I mean, he's not an ill child. He's having pituitary gland problems with his growth hormones, etc. He's had, endless blood tests, etc. And he's due to go back to the Royal London Hospital in the Easter holidays to have the operation to remove this tumour. It's not a cancerous tumour, it's a benign tumour.
Right.
And once that's done, everything will be wonderful. It comes on 20 to 6 this evening. Yeah.
How is he in himself, as they say?
Oh, it's fine. Yeah, he's a strong little lad. Yeah.
How's he coming home?
He's coming home with his mum on the coach,
Right.
The rapid coaches.
Great.
And I've also got a daughter who's 11, who's, she towers above him at the moment because, you see, with the growth hormone problems, is very small for his age. And I would just like to say it's wonderful of all the nurses and the staff, the doctors, especially a surgeon called Mr. Abshaw from St. Bart's, or the Royal London. It's wonderful.
What are you going to do when he comes home, Paul?
Well, I've put some balloons on the door.
All right. Well, I think we'll... God, mate.
Yeah.
Now you got me at it now.
Yeah, we're going to have a little party.
Of course you are. 20 to 6?
Yeah.
Well, a lot of people will glance at their watches at 20 to 6. You have a good evening.
Cheers, Tom.
There are wonderful things happening every day in this world, and don't ever forget it.
The best of the wonderful hour on Talk Radio.
Let's talk to Martin, who calls from the M25. Martin, welcome to Talk Radio.
Hi, good afternoon, Tommy.
What's wonderful, mate?
My little boy. For last week, we had a really, really bad week. My father died, got killed in a car crash. And my son's view of death is like a Tom and Jerry cartoon. And at the weekend, we went for a walk, and he saw a heron flying in the sky, and he asked me if that was his granddad as an angel. And it really made my heart. And I thought that was absolutely wonderful. Beautiful.
How old's your boy?
He's 5.
How are you doing?
Coping. It's a long uphill, but we're starting to climb it, and things are getting better. I've had to come back to work.
What did you say? What did you say when he asked you that?
I took a little thought, and my eyes filled up, and my stomach started to get the butterflies. But it really did. Every time I think of it, it makes me smile now.
Yeah, but what did you tell him? Did you say maybe?
Yes. Oh, I said, yes, that's him, son. He lost a rabbit earlier on in the year as well, and we told him he's up there looking after his rabbit, and he's quite happy with it, with that little thought he's got in his head. It's made me feel a lot better as well.
Good. What's his name again, this boy?
Nathan.
Nathan.
And he's the best little boy in the world.
The very best.
Yes, and he's wonderful. But I think saying that and telling my mum, that really did put a shine in her eye again.
Fantastic.
As well. Yeah.
Fantastic. And this business of being alive is such a strange business, Martin. We don't know that heron wasn't your dad. We don't know.
No.
We just don't.
No.
I'm so glad you rang, mate.
Yeah.
Now listen, look after yourself.
I will do.
And Nathan.
I will do. And you.
All right.
Have a nice day, Tommy.
Where are we off to? Martin calls from Belfast. Martin, you're on Talk Radio. Hello.
Hello, Tommy. I've just actually rung the wrong number, and I started telling this guy my most wonderful experience.
What? Oh, you told somebody, not us. What was wonderful?
Yeah, well, I rang the wrong number because I just wanted to get home. I was so excited about the programme that I got home and I thought, I have to tell them this is the most wonderful experience. So I got in the house and I started ringing the number.
Right.
The guy got on the phone and he says hello, and I told him, I said, the most wonderful experience I've ever had. So just divulged all my thoughts. And he says, listen, I think you're trying to get through to Tommy Boyd. So I think I have to tell you now what my most wonderful experience was.
Martin, how are you?
I'm great, thanks.
Right, I'm not Tommy. My name's Moz D. And I'd like to thank you for ringing my extension earlier on and telling me all about your wonderful experience on holiday. And I'll tell you the absolute truth. Doing the sports show, I was waiting for a call from Dave Bassett, who's moved to Nottingham Forest. And you rang up. funny. You rang up and said, this has got to be Dave Bassett, right, on the phone. Of course, the Northern Irish accent gave it away. Yeah. For a moment, I thought it might have been Martin O'Neill at Leicester. Yeah. But it was Martin there in Belfast. Tell me all about his holiday, which I thoroughly enjoyed. But I'm glad you got through to the right number now.
It's Talk Radio. It's Paul in Leeds. Paul, hi.
Hi, Tommy.
Paul, what's wonderful?
My little lad is, about 18 months ago now, he saved my life. You know, you're on about electricity.
Yeah.
I was, by accident, I caught myself on an electricity wire, and I just couldn't get off. It welded itself to my bracelet on my wrist, and he switched the electricity off.
How old was he at the time?
It was 4.
You're kidding.
No, it was 4.
This is incredible.
No, I'm a single parent with 2 little boys, and it's just the best thing that's ever, happened, really.
Did you talk to tell him to do it, or did he know?
He just knew. I don't know.
Dear God.
Yeah, I actually passed out. And,
Dear God, how old is this boy now?
He's just coming up to 7.
Where is he now?
He's at school. I'm just going to go pick him up shortly.
You're going to go and pick up the man who saved your life from school?
Yeah.
Welcome back to the breast of Tommy Boyd. I'd like to share with you now some of the moments which would normally have ended up on the cutting room floor if we operated from a hairdressing salon. Since we're based in a fully operational radio station, however, they've been saved for posterity. But before that, I'd like to share with you some of the nuggets of radio genius which take the daily shape of the show's own 40-second ads or trails, which so many of you have asked to hear again.
The breast of Tommy Boyd on Talk Radio. Number 5.
Did you see our prisons are set to get their own radio stations?
Convict FM. Need a snout? Short of baccy? Visit Mad Jack McMad all this week on the landing. The Snout with Clark. Also available new snout lights. When ordering, remember to mention Convict FM. Convict FM.
How can we make prisons more pleasant and comfortable for offenders? I'm Tommy Boyd. That's today from 2 on Talk Radio, with a full-size snooker table, a proper holiday, and a conjugal visit. Whenever on Talk Radio. There's a good argument for listening.
Number 4.
I'll tell you what's wonderful. You're on one of those flimsy bridges by a railway line, and then a train comes along, and it shudders, and the bridge vibrates as this huge thing just seems to envelop you with its noise and its weight. And it just makes you feel so simple and so light and insignificant. Wonderful. I'm Tommy Boyd. Today from 2, the wonderful hour on Talk Radio. You can't help but get involved.
Number 3.
Marriage. It works because it's a done deal and you've got it down in writing. So why don't we do the same thing when we have an affair?
Do you, Tommy Boyd, take this woman to be your lawful bit on the side?
I do.
And do you, Elizabeth Hayworth Booth, promise not to get pregnant or too serious or spy on his wife?
I do.
I'm Tommy Boyd. Affairs. They're fantastic. As long as you agree everything in advance. That's today from 2, with lots of late nights at the office, some petrol on your jeans to hide the perfume, and no boiled rabbit on Talk Radio. There's a good argument for listening.
You ain't home. Can't help thinking that's strange. Yeah.
Number 2.
Every year, the major global corporations earn millions and millions of pounds of profit, and still they downsize. Ruthlessly, they blight the social landscape, trampling the workforce into the ground, ejecting them and rejecting them, downsizing.
Tommy, that's enough. You've been downsized.
Oh.
Due to restructuring of the Tommy Boyd Show, the remainder of this announcement is brought to you by One Man and His Dog Independent Productions, a subdivision of the Glenbug Steam Laundry Restroom Darts Division.
Hello, I'm Tommy Boyd. That's downsizing. Today, from 2 on Talk Radio. There's a good argument for listening.
Number 1.
There's 2 things about the 50s that changed Britain forever. 1, will be a minute, Dr. Beeching's railway cuts. And 2,
the mass elimination of Britain's outside toilets. Hang on! They were healthier, they got us out and about, and they left more room in the house. Hang on! Outside toilets. Let's bring them back. I'm Tommy Boyds. Today from 2, with a roll of Isel, your Mac on over your pyjamas, and your brother's dandy. On Talk Radio, with a good argument for listening. About time too. I'd give it 10 minutes if I was you.
The breast of Tommy Boyd.
The things that go wrong at Talk Radio. Oh dear, you shouldn't have said that. I'm going to laugh.
As I wandered out in the streets of Laredo, as I wandered out in Laredo one day, I spied a young cowboy all dressed in white linen, all dressed in white linen, and as cold as the clay.
How's that? Yeah?
Geldof. No, too small, mate, too small. Global?
Now, what about that one that Annie Lennox does?
Yeah.
You do- I can't do the harmonica on that either, so... Dead bodies. You have enough iron in you to make a 3-inch nail. I have enough calcium to make 200 sticks of chalk. Dead bodies. You have enough iron in you to make a 3-inch nail. I have enough calcium to make 200 sticks of chalk. Auntie Rena could fertilise 200 weight of King Edwards. Dead bodies. You have enough iron in you to make a 3-inch nail. I have enough calcium to make 200 sticks of chalk. Auntie Rena... Whoa, whoa, whoa! Pussycat, pussycat, I love you. Yes, I do. You with your pussycat eyes. Oh, ready? All right. Oh, dear.
The breast of Tommy Boyd. Celebrity punch-ups on Talk Radio.
And I'm pleased to say Moz has joined me in the boxing studio. We've got a great fight lined up.
We have
Jeremy
indeed.
Beadle versus Noel Evans, and it's one that people would pay to see.
I would.
I would.
I'd pay an awful lot of cash to see
I
this
would.
one.
I'd be there.
Yeah, ticket touts would make a fortune on this one. I think it's weight versus speed here, isn't it? I tell you what, I mean, I find this incredible the way you put this together, because I'm sitting here and I'm getting excited. I've got a tingle down my spine. It actually is Jeremy Beadle versus Noel. This is real stuff. It's on the screen in front of me. We've got Beadle in black shorts, I think I'm right in saying that. Edmonds in the red. And, round one. Well, there we are, round one, and they're off. Don't stand toe-to-toe, they're just edging in. Oh, and a swing there from Edmonds, who goes. That extra speed, perhaps, Edmonds is trying to employ, but the weight and the determination of Beadle winning out in these early stages of the fight. Can he get into... Oh, standing off. Don't stand toe-to-toe with him, Noel. Don't stand toe-to-toe. Inside again, you see. Inside, that extra weight being employed by Beadle. Edmonds backing off now.
Edmonds is throwing. Edmonds is saying that didn't hurt me.
Oh, he's doing the old Prince Nassim Hamed routine. Come and hit me if you can. And Beadle's doing just that. He's hitting him. Don't get too clever, Noel. Don't stand toe-to-toe. The weight will take you out. In the blue corner, they're shouting now. Oh, he's down!
Edmonds is down! Edmonds is down!
Taking the count.
Beadle's in the corner. He's got a 6.
And he's back up again, but he's wobbling, Tommy. He's wobbling. If Beadle can get another blow in before the end of the round, it might be all over. And Beadle's certainly looking to do that now as he moves in for the attack. He's trying to finish him off. But Noel's coming back. This is a remarkable comeback from the red corner. Oh, Beadle strikes him on the chin. Why did he go down? Why? How is that man standing? Noel back in. He takes it to the body. He takes it to the chin. He takes it to the shoulder. But Noel Edmonds, you've got to give him it. The tenacity, the strength of the man. He's got courage. He's got a big heart, Tommy.
Beadle with the right, Beadle with the left. Catches Edmonds again at the top of his head, and another right catches. Edmonds on the temple. 30 seconds to go in this round. It's surely Jeremy Beadle's round, but can he finish it before the bell? Jeremy Beadle is all over Noel Edmonds.
There's that bell. Oh, I'm out of breath myself.
The breast of Tommy Boyd on Talk Radio. There's a good argument for listening.
Welcome back to the breast of Tommy Boyd. On Wednesday, the 12th of March, we celebrated one of Britain's least thanked professionals. Always there, 24 hours of the day, whenever you need them. Think of these noble knights of the road, not as lazy, greasy, unintelligent cowboys who keep death off the road by driving on the pavement, but as our 6th emergency service after the Boys Brigade. Taxi drivers, they're fantastic.
The breast of Tommy Boyd. Taxi drivers, they're fantastic.
Jimmy calls from London. Jimmy, you're on Talk Radio.
Tom.
Jimmy.
Tom, you're doing it again.
What?
You are confusing the issue. There is to try and lump a London taxi driver with a minicab driver. It's blasphemous. It's absolutely ridiculous. You cannot have a professional and an amateur put in the same breath.
You're right. They are better than you, aren't they?
Oh yeah. Better than us.
Because you can get a minicab at 4 in the morning. You can't smoke in black cabs.
Can't you?
No, if I want to have a nice little puff, I've got to get a minicab.
Yeah.
You know that's true, isn't it? Isn't it true?
It's wind-up time, Tom.
But that's
You'll never
true.
win.
But that's true, isn't it?
We are the best cab drivers in the world, and the reason why is because we've trained to be. We're not amateurs. We don't do it just to earn a few pennies, just to subsidise our payments down the dole office.
Yeah.
All right?
Yeah.
That's the difference.
Yeah.
All right? We're professionals, so don't ever confuse the issue. You can phone one up any time you like.
Yeah, but if you see one coming along with the yellow light on, Jimmy, and you hail it and you say, take me to Camberwell.
Yes.
They'll go, clock and a half, cocker.
I'll take you anywhere you want to go, Tommy.
Yeah,
double
clock. Double clock.
Double clock, I'm not allowed to, mate.
Well, you do it.
You do it? The meter's there. The meter doesn't lie.
Don't you dare.
Where did you get this double clock from?
I've had to do it countless times.
Yeah.
You see, you're not a punter, Jimmy. You're a driver.
That's right. Read the rules and regulations, Tommy.
Yeah,
Don't get confused.
I've got to get home.
Double clock,
Double clock. Where do you think I got the phrase from?
All right, then. If that's what you say.
Laura calls from Kent. You're on Talk Radio. Hello, Laura.
I can't believe what you are saying.
What?
You obviously do not get cabs that often, especially minicabs. You must never get a minicab.
As often as I can.
Oh, please.
I love them.
Never. You phone up, you book a cab for 5, it comes 5 the next morning. I always make a point. When I book a cab, I always ask the telephone woman or guy or whatever how much it will be. Okay. And it is always more when you ask a cab driver. Always. About the cars, the lovely cars.
Yeah, I mean gorgeous.
Valentine's night, me and my boyfriend went out for a meal. We thanked God that we got there.
Yeah.
The car was literally shaking. People were waving the cab driver, trying to tell him there was something wrong with his car.
No.
It was terrible.
They were trying to flag him down because it looked fun driving in a car like that.
No.
They envied you.
Oh, please.
These are classic cars.
We had to... The cab driver actually told us.
Retro is big. Retro is big.
But it's not safe if it's a car. It is not safe. These are people's lives. And the reason why black cabs are never in accidents are because they cause accidents and then go away. Got nothing against old cars as long as they're safe and respectable.
Well, they've all passed their MOT, Laura. You can't drive a minicab.
Everybody knows you can get a dodgy MOT. Everybody knows.
I'm not listening to you. La, 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 la. I don't want to hear it on the radio.
Can I just
no such thing as a dodgy MOT.
Can I just say one thing about your show? It's nothing rude, don't worry, you don't have to cut me off. Everybody I know who listens to the radio, whatever station they listen to, when you're on, they always tune into Talk Radio. Everybody I know.
Well, that's because I talk sense.
It's because you're a wind-up merchant and people love to get excited.
This is a serious news and current affairs debate forum. It is news night without the paper review. Steve calls from Lancashire. You're on Talk Radio, Steve.
Hi, Tommy.
Hi, Steve.
I don't believe you, pal.
What?
I just don't believe what you're saying about these taxi drivers.
What?
What? I'm a driving instructor. Are these taxi drivers specially trained to teach our learner drivers how to avoid incidents? Like reversing out onto main roads, cutting you up, stopping in front of you?
Taxi drivers don't reverse into main roads. Learner drivers do.
Pardon me, Tommy.
Learner drivers do.
Learner drivers doing reverse parking exercise. Our taxis stop right behind them.
Do you work for one of those big schools?
Do I, heck?
No? Do you have to pay for the road that you use to teach people to drive on?
So we have to pay with road tax, don't we?
I think you've got a bit of a nerve coming on here and trying to beat the drum for driving instructors, Steve.
No, I'm not trying to beat the drum for
you've
driving
got a terrible cheek
I'm trying to beat the drum against these taxi drivers.
And not long ago, you tried to bribe the Liberal Party. Ed calls from Sheffield. Ed, good afternoon.
Hello. Yeah, I've got a true story for you, completely true. A couple of weeks ago, I was in Manchester on a course, and I had to get back over to Yorkshire quite quickly. And I had to get a taxi back, because a colleague had taken me over there, and I had to get back in a hurry. So I got this guy in his Escort, and we were batting along the M62. And he really was a very nice guy, because I was in a bit of a state, and he gave me, we had a nice chat. But it obviously gave him a chance to show off his car. It was an Escort diesel that had been around the clock twice. And he didn't know it could do 90 before. Yeah. And it was, it gave him a chance to just demonstrate how nice it was. He was obviously a very, very careful driver. He didn't like to drink alcohol the night before in case he was, over the breath test the next morning. So he used to indulge in other methods of relaxation the night before.
Good Lord.
Yeah. Well, no, so it just proves how, how careful he was.
Yes, professional.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
Serious professional.
Absolutely.
A man who knew his job, and he got you there on time.
He did. Yeah, he was in a bit of a hurry.
What a pro.
Yep.
Where would we be without them, Ed? Thank you for your call. To Julian, who calls from Bristol. You're on Talk Radio. Julian.
Good afternoon, Tommy.
Sir.
I have a way for you to virtually guarantee that a taxi will pick you up after you've been somewhere.
Aha.
When they drop you off, you say, could you possibly pick me up at midnight or whenever? And they'll say, yeah, sure, no trouble. And you say, well, that's fine. I'll pay you when you've dropped me back home afterwards. And if they don't turn up, you've got a free trip. You can't lose. Oh, it works.
I'm sure it does.
You want to give it a go?
No, I won't.
Why not?
I'm frightened of taxi drivers. Dave calls from London. Dave, good afternoon.
Hello, Tommy.
Dave.
All right, I've got to agree with you about one thing you said about sometimes trying to get hold of a black cab. I'm a black cab driver myself, and the other week I went out on a Friday night, and about 1 o'clock I waved down about 3 black cabs, and none of them wanted to take me where I wanted to go.
So they're on their way home, weren't they?
Yeah. I know what I'd rather do. I'd rather walk round for about 3 hours than get in a minicab. Earlier you said minicabs are dentists, doctors, but you didn't carry on about the rapists, the muggers who drive minicabs, because anyone in the world can drive a minicab. We're licensed. You couldn't, if you was a rapist or anything like that, you couldn't drive a back cab. So these young girls who go out and then they jump in these, who get in their minicabs, they've got to be off their heads, because I'd rather walk round for about 3 hours, even if the cabs didn't want to take me or don't want to go South London. So, what do you think of that, Tommy?
You're a great advertisement for the black cab
I am, yes,
industry,
Tommy.
Dave.
You're a great advertisement for radio, and you're telling people to get minicabs.
What I want to say to
when
you...
there's a rapist and all that.
Yeah,
like, you're telling people to get minicabs. You've got to be mad, Tommy. I'm sorry. I'm not going to argue, because I'm going to go now, because I've said my word, and you're just going to argue back a load of rubbish. Good day.
Dear, he was upset, wasn't he?
The rest of Tommy Boyd.
Let me ask you a question. Have you got a telephone voice? Let's talk about phone manner, because that is really where the voice comes in, doesn't it? When you're with somebody, they can see you. They can form judgments about you based on what your face looks like and what you're wearing and what sort of body type you are and how old you are. It's when you go on the phone that it is your voice against the world. Here's not a card trick. We're not cheating. It's not a con. We have a telephone voice because it helps us get on. I was at a hotel reception once when the chap on the desk shouted across in his real voice to a man whose van he wanted moving from the hotel lawn out front, "If you don't get that van off that lawn before I'm off the phone, I shall be out there to sort you out." And then he got on the phone to whoever he was talking to and said, "Hello, Hotel Campion, how may I help you?" That's what you have to do. That's what you do. You have a telephone voice when you're speaking to strangers. So you accept the importance of having the right voice. Have you rehearsed your voice? Did you not, particularly when you were courting, as they used to call it, did you not just quietly in the privacy of your own bedroom listen to your own voice, rehearse saying certain things that you might be appropriate if you got lucky that evening? Of course you did. Of course you did. You know and you understand the importance of your voice.
The breast of Tommy Boyd.
Shouting! It's fantastic!
David calls from London. You're on Talk Radio. David, good afternoon.
Hello, Tommy. You woke me up at 2 o'clock in the morning for your advert for shouting. I have Talk Radio on. It goes on all through the night. I leave it on and I was asleep. But your shouting was unbelievable. I just sat up with a start. I mean, it was unbelievable. I mean, God knows the turmoil that was going on in your trousers when that shouting was going on. Cough. You know, it was unbelievable.
Let's hear it again, because, I mean, it is actually quite funny hearing somebody shout, isn't it?
Isn't shouting fantastic? I've noticed that the louder you talk, the more successful you are.
That's true, isn't it?
Look at people on mobile phones in restaurants. Top politicians and businessmen, they never keep their voices down. I'm Tommy Boyd. That's today from 2, with a sore throat, a lot of spit, and earache for everyone in sight. On Talk Radio, there's a good argument for listening.
It was that last bit that did it.
Well, I think that was probably what it was. That was unbelievable. I mean, your sort of adverts for your programmes are very, very good.
Thank you.
Especially the last little 3 things you put at the end, which I think are pieces of works of art, actually.
Works of art.
But I mean, shouting to me, anybody who shouts has lost it. Whether in a shop or at work.
You're right.
To me, that person has lost it.
That's shouting. Brenda calls from London. You're on Talk Radio. Brenda.
Hello, I'm another one that's got no sympathy for you, Tom, I'm afraid.
Well, he had sympathy for me.
Well, I'm sorry I haven't, because I woke up this morning with my clock radio, and it was just as you came on,
oh dear.
And I've been in a black mood all day. And yes, I know you might think it's funny, but it's not. And I feel so irritable, because I normally had woken up by Ian.
Yes.
Good afternoon, Tommy.
Mark.
Your telephone voice, mine does not change.
Yes, it does.
No, it doesn't.
Everyone changes their voice on the phone.
Not. How I'm speaking to you now, if we were talking face to face, I will speak to you just the same.
Yeah, but you should change your voice.
No, why not?
Why?
Yes, why?
Well, because it could be better.
No.
Yes, it could.
No, why?
Well, because it could be even better than it is.
Why's that? You're talking on a telephone. That's all. And if you're talking to a person face to face, you'll still be talking just the same. There's no difference from talking on the telephone to talking to someone.
Yes, but people are more likely to put a bit of extra effort in for somebody they were impressed by. That's how the world works.
Well, not necessarily. Why?
Well, it does, though.
No, I mean, if I talk to you business-wise over the telephone or face-to-face, at the end of the day, it still comes down to the same thing.
No, it doesn't.
Yes, it does.
No, sometimes you get what you want in life and sometimes you don't.
No, you only get in life if the person agrees. If you talk on a telephone, he doesn't agree. If you go in and see him face-to-face...
But everything that you can do to persuade somebody to do what you want them to do has to be worth employing.
But then at the end of the day, you might not get it.
No, but you'll stand a better chance of getting it if you improve your telephone
voice. If you're
voice.
employed, the telephone's got nothing to do with it. You just ring up and speak to a secretary, usually.
No.
Not to the person you're going to interview.
Well, if you're saying that whenever you use the telephone there's never any opportunity for you, then you should use the phone more.
I use the phone quite a lot, and a mobile phone.
Yes.
Yes, but over the telephone, you can only do it to a certain extent. When you go for the interview, it could change.
You make an enormous impression over the telephone, Mark.
No, the enormous attention is when you go and see a person face-to-face. Because you're talking man-to-man or woman-to-man.
But you might not be seeing somebody face-to-face. You're only on the phone whilst you're on the phone. Why try to make an impression when you meet somebody, but not bother when you talk on the phone?
Because the telephone, you could be talking to anyone. You could be talking to somebody's secretary. And when you go through your interview, you're talking to the person that owns the factory.
And somebody's secretary isn't important?
Right. No.
Somebody's secretary isn't worth a bit of effort?
No. Because you could speak to her this week, and next week when you go to the interview, you could see a different person sitting there.
And you're just not bothered about them, are you?
Because you could ask for her name. Her name could be Tina. And when you go next week for the interview, the young lady sitting at the desk could be Jane.
But it might not be.
But it could be.
But it might not be.
It could be.
But the chances are that it won't be.
Well, then that's a gamble you take, but she's not interviewing you. It's a person who you're going through that.
Isn't it a matter of simple politeness to try and come across as well as you possibly can on the phone?
You
know that's not true.
Oh, yes, it is. So what is
you know that's not true.
Yes, I do.
You know that some stonking great merchant banker doesn't get the same treatment as the bloke from the Welk stall. You know that.
Yes, no, that's right.
You know that.
Are you a person?
Utopia.
Are you a person?
Look, I'm talking about the real world. You're talking about some Marxist-Leninist utopia.
So you come from another planet, have you? What planet have you come from, then?
I've come from planet Earth. Where are you from?
I'm from Earth, so you're still a person. Unless you're a man dressed in drag, so you're a man. And a woman's a woman.
You stick with what you've got, Mark.
What's that?
Well, nowhere.
Oh, I've got plenty. Don't worry about that.
You said secretaries don't matter.
I said they can change.
You even said you called them somebody's secretary.
Yes, somebody's secretary. That's right.
You put a few backs up.
Well, that's fine, but if you're a secretary, you work for a company. You don't work for yourself.
Mark,
that person at the end of the day owns a company.
Mark, do listen, and if anybody comes back at you, do feel free to, join us again.
Feel fine, but
Yes.
we're a busy place at the moment, but
Yes.
I couldn't resist when you said voices change.
Yes.
I thought mine doesn't.
Got to you, did I?
No, you haven't got me yet. I'm still talking to you.
The breast of Tommy Boyd.
Shouting! It's fantastic!
Adrian calls from Plymouth. You're on Talk Radio. Adrian, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Adrian.
Just before I get to my real point, can I just say that how much I enjoyed the Cockney Gentleman? He made me think of one of those characters in a Dickens novel when he tries to describe a character from the East End of London. And I thought he came over very well, actually. I quite enjoyed it in short bouts.
Yes.
Now, the real point I wanted to make was this, that I think that teachers should be taught given voice training, rather, as part of their training, and then lecturers as well.
Couldn't agree more.
I was a mathematics lecturer, and I'm very conscious of the fact that it was a great strain sometimes on the voice, giving lectures, and I was aware that I spoke far too quickly, but it's very difficult to train yourself. And I would have found it extremely helpful to have got voice training from time to time while I was on the job, so to speak, as well as initially when I did the training.
Very interesting listening to you. Are you still in this game?
Well, I'm a retired lecturer now, and I enjoy the mathematics which I used to teach. So that's my observation, that I think it really ought to be reintroduced as a subject. Quite serious. And it's very difficult to find somebody. I want to just say that too. I did actually make independent efforts of my own to find out someone who could give voice training as opposed to elocution. And it's not at all easy to find anybody that does it. But your average teacher out in the boondocks doesn't have any way of... And it's quite difficult, yeah.
The other thing is, of course, sometimes you're born with it, and you're right about teachers as well.
Well, that's my little say, so...
Yeah, it's a good one. Good, mate. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Nice to talk to you. Bye-bye. Barry calls from Weston-super-Mare. You're on Talk Radio. Barry.
Hello, Thomas.
Hello, Barry.
Well, I spoke to your secretary earlier on. I'm interested to know whether this, or your voice, is your normal everyday voice, or is it your program voice? Yes.
Well...
So you're back to your normal voice now, Tommy, which is interesting because it was totally different to the one that greeted me when I first came on seconds ago.
Yes.
Very interesting.
Well, I was taking the mic. It happened to me once. No, listen to this. This is what happened to me once. I picked up the phone in the spare room at home, and this voice on the other end, I was convinced it was one of my friends mucking about.
Right.
It went, "Hello. Could I possibly speak to a Mr. Tommy Boyd, please?" See? So just like I did with you, and just like anybody else would do, I said, "Tommy Boyd here. With whom am I having the pleasure of this telephonic conversation?" And the other voice went, "My name is Sir Andrew Bowden, Conservative MP for Brighton Kemp Town. I have the privilege of being the chairman of the Caged Animals Protection Society, and I wonder if I could talk to you briefly about your work with dolphins."
Right.
Oh, dear. It was his real voice.
Oh, dear.
So I'm then faced with this problem. Do I continue in this silly voice so that he won't know that I was taking the mickey, which I wasn't? Or do I go back to talking in my normal voice in which which will make him realise that I thought he had a stupid voice?
Yeah.
And what do you do?
Absolutely. That's a dilemma. That's a dilemma that no doubt somebody on the phone waiting to speak to you will answer.
Oh, so you're off, are you? Steve calls from Bristol. We're celebrating shouting, Steve, within reason.
Good afternoon, Tommy.
Afternoon.
I'll start with the gentleman about the secretaries first. Remember this, every secretary can end up being the boss.
Yeah.
I deal with secretaries nearly every day of my life, and without them, you wouldn't get on.
No.
Like the two guys have said, if you upset them, you're up against a brick wall from the start. Because bosses do, because I know what my boss says to people that try to talk to him. If he sounds an idiot, then no way put him through.
Yep.
Because they just can't be wasted time. The second thing is about shouting. I don't know about you, but when people start shouting, they usually quicken the pace of their voice.
Yeah.
And then start to lose the thread of what they are trying to say.
Yeah, shouting can be quite funny. If you're good at it, don't hurt your voice like I did, but put the phone down over one side of the room and go over to the other side of the room and just shout.
Well, I'm in a car.
I don't care. All right, then. Just shout. Just put the phone down on the passenger seat.
Yeah, sir.
And have a damn good shout. Julian, check these faders here.
And what would you like?
Anything you like.
This is Tommy Boyd on Talk Radio!
The breast of Tommy Boyd on Talk Radio.
Welcome back. This is Talk Radio, the breast of Tommy Boyd. We take you now to the 11th of June. The topic for the second hour of the show was one which would affect all of us on the team. So much so that after the show was over, we vowed solemnly never to broach the subject again. Join us now as we peek beneath the veil of darkness and ask the question, have you ever looked into the eyes of pure evil?
The breast of Tommy Boyd.
Lucy, you're on Talk Radio.
Hi, Tommy.
What happened to you?
Looking in the face of evil.
Mm.
A few years ago, I went through a very spiritual, religious phase in my life, which was absolutely fine for me at the time. And one night, in the middle of the night, I woke up, and I was totally awake. I wasn't dreaming, and I hadn't been on any illegal substances. But the air around me was three-dimensional. It was thick. It was full of faces. The atmosphere was pure evil. It's hard to explain. I'd never encountered anything like it before nor since. Excuse me. I recited the Lord's Prayer. That did no good. I recited the 23rd Psalm. That did no good. So I grabbed my dressing gown and I tailed it out of my house into a neighbour's. At 2:30 in the morning. But I remember sitting there trying to analyse whether I was hallucinating, whether I was still dreaming. I wasn't. There were faces in the air, on the wall, on the curtains, and it was just, no other word for it, evil. Pure evil. And I rather think that you were saying earlier about the, if you're starting to open yourself up as a channel for good, you're also opening yourself up as a channel for the other side. And I think that's what happened to me.
But how did you do that? How did you, someone who was actively pursuing good and goodness as you were, how did you then accidentally become a conduit for the other lot?
I don't think I was necessarily a complete conduit. I think that, I'm not saying for a minute I was a saint, but I was certainly living my life in a good way, or trying to at least. And I think something down there decided that it was a test. I have no idea.
So what have we got down there then?
I don't believe we have anything down there. I think we have good and evil all around us, and I think it is tangible, and I do think it's it walks. I think you can tap into
it walks
goodness.
Upright.
I think so. I'm sure it walks upright in human form at times.
The ancient Russian belief is that when the devil visits the earth, he can only be identified in two ways. One, by his cat, which walks with him on its hind legs, which is a very spooky image, isn't it?
It certainly is.
And two, he's able to move each of his two eyeballs independently. Paul, hello.
Hello, right. Here's the scene, Tommy. Terrace Flats, bottom of the stairs, the front door, that's where I used to play. Now, I just said goodbye to my dad. At this time, I was under 5. Dad had went to work in the pits, playing with the cars, and I had a sense of a figure standing at the top of the stairs who was very tall, very dark, could make out any features whatsoever, and asked me what I was doing, and said, playing with my cars. Had a brief conversation, but I got the sense that he shouldn't have been there, and it was evil is what I think of it now, but it was just at the time, it could have been nobody playing, well, I know it was nobody playing a practical joke, because it could have only been my dad, but like I said, he'd just gone to work previously, but it was very eerie at the time. Had I been older, I think I would have gotten worried, but being a child, it just, but there was a presence there, and I just sensed as a child it was wrong for that person to be there.
What was that presence? Was it something tangible, like a temperature?
Well, no, it was just, if you can imagine, the light that was coming in from the room would have been above the front door at the time, so the staircase was dark. And it was just a presence. There was a figure at the top of the stairs, but there was no features.
You felt it was evil?
Yeah, I did. I felt it was wrong.
Thanks for your call, Andy. Interesting talking to you. Martin's in Northamptonshire. You're on Talk Radio. Martin, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Tommy. I want to tell you about seeing the devil in a member of my family, which is quite worrying because if they know who I am, they're going to be thinking about that. It was my cousin, so I don't want to actually name who it was.
Fair enough.
But he wanted to do something for me, and it was in the hallway. It was just a flash in the eyes. Honestly, up until that point, I was going along with the whole thing, and then I suddenly thought, no, don't do it. I saw it was the look in the eye. That's all I can say. And I actually, what's prompted me to ring you is I told this to my wife. I said that is just evil.
Yes.
It's the devil's eyes.
Yeah.
And I haven't done it.
No.
I haven't done this kind of thing that he wanted me to do.
No.
Although the weird thing is, he's as good as gold. You think. He comes across like that anyway.
But there was just this one moment.
Yep.
This one glint in the eye.
Yep, definitely.
Yes.
In the
You
hallway.
knew what he was thinking.
He was after him. He was trying to lead me astray. Definitely.
His tail might have twitched if you'd been able to see it.
Well, he still thinks he's got me. You see, that's the thing. That's the kind of weird thing.
Yeah.
You have to be very, very careful, I think, and it's really scary because he's still there.
Mark calls from Essex. You're on Talk Radio. Mark, have you ever looked into the face of evil?
Well, I haven't exactly looked into the face of it, but I've experienced something of the kind. We'd done a Ouija board when we were younger, and mainly because one of my friends' grandparents had died and they wanted to contact them, and when you asked the Ouija board, you asked if it was a good or bad spirit, and we come up with a bad spirit called Lucifer. And the glass went a bit mad on the Ouija table, and the last two of us that were left on the glass, there was 7 to begin with, the last 2 of us spelt out we were going to die, which is obvious, everybody's going to die, but it was scary when you're a young teenager.
Of course, and none of us want to play with the Ouija boards, even though they used to manufacture them and sell them in shops. Unfortunately, at a party, it's very difficult to say, no, I'm sorry, I'm going to go and sit out in the kitchen by myself. You can't do it, can you?
No, you can't.
And also, we're a little bit curious, aren't we?
Oh, yeah. I mean, to be honest, who we did contact, we did... What they said, what happened on the table was quite true, but it's still very unknown, like the devil itself.
Yeah, and you and I would advise people not to bother with Ouija boards.
Oh, no.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, not if they haven't got a sensible head on them anyway.
Margaret calls from Taunton. You're on Talk Radio. Margaret, good afternoon.
Good afternoon. I used to do lodgings, and one man who visited used to burn candles and dabble in the occult. He lived in a horrible squat near where I lived, and he came in one evening looking peculiar, and he put his fingers out against the wall. I felt odd, so I turned him out. And then he came to the kitchen window and looked in and spread both his hands up against the window, and it looked like the devil. It looked like the devil. Black was sort of coming out of him.
God, how long ago was this?
Oh, a long time. 20 years ago.
That's haunted you ever since.
The breast of Tommy Boyd.
Desmond's in London. You're on Talk Radio. Desmond.
Oh.
Hello.
Hello, Tommy.
Have you ever looked into the face of evil?
Evil or good. I don't know which way you'd mention it. I was around a friend's house 2 years ago, but 10 years previous to that, they bought the house, and they was told an old Victorian lady had died in there. Quite old. And she was telling me this. About sort of 10, 15 minutes later, I looked around, and coming down the stairs was like a ghost, a Victorian lady. And she was wearing a little black dress, a little woman, and she had like a crevasse around the neck. And I was describing this to my friend, and she just ran out of the house screaming. I described it actually as she'd seen it. I don't know if you'd say it's evil, or is it good?
Well, were you frightened or comforted?
I wasn't frightened, no.
Have you felt comforted or unsettled? Have you been unsettled ever since?
No, I haven't.
No.
I never believed in ghosts until that time, actually.
No. Well, perhaps it was somebody involved, in sort of a transfer deal between upstairs and downstairs, whatever it was. But it's left you pretty much unmarked.
Yeah, she was like levitating on the stairs, and I didn't really believe in ghosts until that point. I don't know if it was a figment of my imagination of her actually saying that there was an actual ghost in the house, and then I just interpreted it mentally. I can't really answer that, but I did actually see something there.
Jan, hello.
Hi. I'll keep it much briefer than it was. A couple of years ago, my daughter fell head over heels in love with a chap who we also fell head over heels in love with. He was very, very charismatic, and he wasn't smarmy or, stupid. He brought everything into our lives that we needed, really, including, a lot of love and everything. He had everything going for him. Very shortly after they sort of fell in love, he got leukemia, and he was going to die quite quickly, and he had this amazing tale. Anyway, to cut a long story short, they came home from London to Shropshire he came home with my daughter to die, and I said, would she mind very much if they weren't married, when he died, and she said, she would mind. So we got them married very quickly, and he was a complete con man.
Oh, God.
In every sense of the word. He'd done it so many times before. He was South African, and he was totally believable. We adored him.
Well, but what did he make off with?
Well, money.
Cash.
Yeah, all sorts of, money, and we paid for a lot of things. He had all this business in South Africa that he was selling up, and we were going to buy them a house here with the money that was gradually coming over from South Africa. It was all untrue.
Yeah.
And, talking about evil and the devil, I don't really think I believe in them. But he had... It was very difficult to put two and two together when we found out what he'd actually done and what he proceeded to do till my daughter got him arrested. It's difficult to believe. He must have had a very sort of tragic upbringing, I imagine, to be doing this.
Here's Vic calling from Surrey. Welcome to Talk Radio, Vic.
I was in a pub with my father Christmas. This was going back about 30 years ago. And I had my two young children with me because we was friends of the landlord, and my father's friend came over, and he was just saying that, we got talking. He said he had a car crash and he was brought back from the dead, and he had these sort of unusual powers of looking into the future. I was talking there, and he was just saying what lovely children they are, and he said, unfortunately, they're going to die in a car crash before they're 21. Now, I've never spoke to anyone about this because I didn't want to tempt Providence, as you might say. And I was just struck absolutely dumb. And I never said anything to anybody. And then, about 2 weeks later, I was there with my father, and he come over and he said, I'm ever so sorry about that. He said, I just thought you had everything, and I just wanted to upset you. Now, I thought, if that wasn't the most evil thing, and it's been 30 years, and now my children are older and grown up.
Oh, you poor man.
Not poor man, but it just brought a note back when I was listening to you.
Vic, you are, for someone to say something like that ever to anybody in their lifetime.
I know.
Out of such a malevolent, bloody...
Well, I could swear, but, it just brought it all back when I was listening to your programme, and I thought, I've got to say something about evil. Now,
that's evil.
I don't believe in God or in the devil. I think it is living within us, and we fight against it each day about being good or being bad. And I think that day he was as evil as anyone could ever be.
I think you're right. Roy's on the line from Somerset. You're on Talk Radio, Roy. Have you ever looked into the face of evil?
Yes, Tom.
What happened?
Two boys. You imagine two boys, 10 years old, 1941. Both ran away from a home where we were badly treated. And we lived for a few days in a hayrick. We made a hole in the bottom, lived in that. We lived on water, which we got from the snow, and whatever we could eat, sweets mostly, and turnips. And one night he woke me up and said, Roy, the devil's outside. And we looked through the little hole in the top of the little cabin we'd made, and there was this blob silhouetted against a full moon. 2 legs, a fat body, a thin head, and 4 horns. And we were shaking in our boots. We were terrified.
I'll be honest, you've got me going cold here.
Well, I'm sorry, but that's how it happened. And all of a sudden, the object went moo and walked away. It was a cow.
Roy, thank God for that.
The breast of Tommy Boyd.
I want to stop the calls at this point. So far, things have been going along very nicely, although we've had some pretty scary stuff. But that's nothing compared to what happened next in the studio control room. Here's Gillian, who was the tech op that day.
Philippa, who works beside me, who's the phone op, heard this voice, freaked out, threw her headphone set away to the side, and said, "Don't ever do a programme on this again." At that point, Tommy came out because of an ad break, and he said, "What's wrong? What's wrong?" And Philippa said, "Listen to this." And he took the headset, and he sat there, and Tommy didn't say a word for the 2 minutes of the ad break, and then he just said, "Put him on." So I didn't have a clue what was going to happen, and then suddenly this voice appeared.
Martin's on the line from London. Martin, good afternoon.
Hello, good afternoon. This is quite interesting. You definitely wouldn't call it evil, but some people link everything that you could attach to what people call a ghost.
Okay.
When I was about 3 years old, I suffered very severe burns, quite extensive third-degree burns.
Burns?
Yes, burns.
Burns, okay.
For several weeks, I couldn't sit up, let alone walk. My parents had to take turns to hold me in their arms throughout the night to sleep, and all I could do was lie down. So that was a lot of work, especially for my mom, because my dad had to work anyway. On one occasion, my mom claims she definitely had to go out, so what she did was lock up the whole house, gave me an overdose of sleeping tablets, and left. When she got back home, while opening the door, she could hear me talking to somebody. When she came in, she asked me, "What are you doing?" And she actually, for the first time, saw me sitting up.
Mm-hmm.
And she said, "Who are you talking to?" And I said, "Oh, your aunt is here." I woke up feeling thirsty, so she came to give me a glass of water, and she could see half a glass of water sitting by me on a table.
Mm-hmm.
And she kind of got scared. She said, "What do you mean my aunt was here?" And I said, "Oh, she's here." When she saw you coming, she just walked to the guest room. So I got up, and for the first time I walked. I went straight to the guest room, knocked the door, and kept calling, "Auntie Anna, now that my mom is here, how come you're hiding?
Mm-hmm.
Come out." And today, the understanding I have is that it happened to be her mother who died when she was 18, long before I was born. Personally, I think nature has two very, very opposite polarities, and you're either the devil yourself or you're God.
The breast of Tommy Boyd on Talk Radio.
Welcome back to Talk Radio. We decided on the 25th of March that decriminalising anything in this country would be stupid.
The breast of Tommy Boyd on Talk Radio. Criminalize everything.
Tommy, dairy products.
Dairy products.
Get rid of them. Ban them.
Make them illegal.
Make them illegal.
Yes.
Definitely.
Why?
They're a nightmare.
They are.
Well, first of all, they're made from cow's food.
Yes.
And somebody somewhere convinced us, human beings, intelligent human beings, that the food for a cow is good for a human.
Yes.
And we all fell for it. And,
yes.
And they still are. And it actually causes more heart disease than most other drugs combined.
True.
In fact.
Yes.
It could be because it contains, as many people do not know, a protein called casein, which is used as a base for the strongest wood glue known to man.
Is that right? And we're full of it.
And people who have asthma, mucus problems, hay fever, arthritis, I could go on, asthma especially, is caused by cow's food.
Right.
Now, would anybody ever go along and, no matter how thirsty they are, suck on a cow's udder?
No.
I submit to you, no.
I believe you are right.
However, if somebody else goes along and sucks on the udder for them...
With a machine.
Exactly.
Yes.
And then puts it in a nice glass...
Bottle.
Or whatever, on the shelf, and adds some heat to it, pasteurize it to make sure that it's all dead, completely dead.
Yes.
Then, of course, we fall for it and say, that's good, and it contains calcium, so therefore it is good for us.
Jason says that there's glue in milk.
There is glue in milk. That is why people say they're going to line their stomach before they have the other ridiculous substance called alcohol.
Alan calls from West Yorkshire. You're on Talk Radio, Alan.
Hi, well, that's right, Tommy.
Right.
That's convenient, isn't it? I work for the dairy. That guy's trying to put me out of work.
He's only trying to improve the planet.
Yeah, I
Jason,
love
what's
milk.
your point?
I love milk. Prohibition.
Prohibition.
I got a prohibition order served on me 27 years ago when I got married.
Yes.
Biggest prohibition order you can ever have, isn't it?
Yes, I can see your point.
No, we've done enough stuff, don't we? I think we should decriminalise certain drugs.
Which ones?
Cannabis, marijuana. I think it's just ridiculous. The kind of laws that we've got these days, people do it. I don't think it's very serious. I mean, I smoke. I wish to God I didn't. I did stop for 10 years. I'm trying desperately to stop now. I wish they'd put £5 a packet on and ban them altogether.
Do you?
And then I definitely would stop.
You would?
I would. I mean, you can always find money to buy a packet of cigs, can't you?
Just within your reach.
Well, that's right, because that's why they put them up 5p, 3p. It's the same with petrol, isn't it? You know what I mean? I mean, a lot of people have stopped driving their cars if they put it up £3 a gallon, won't they?
In the newsagents, they used to break up packets of cigarettes so that people could buy one or two when that's all
right,
their pocket stretched to.
Yeah, it's so hypocritical, isn't it? I mean, I know it's bad for me and I've smoked most of my life. But you have stresses, you have worries. There are times when you think it's easier to light a cigarette than it is to walk around the house for an hour and a half and say, I'm not going to have one.
Yes.
And they know that, don't they? And the taxes they get in, it's so hypocritical. It really is. I wish they would ban it altogether and let's get done with it. And if you want to have a quiet fag and buy them illegal, then go and have one.
Alan in West Yorkshire. What you can and can't do simply doesn't stand up to logical thought, does it?
Why don't we just criminalise everything?
Martin calls from Hull. You're on Talk Radio, Martin.
Hello, Tommy.
Should alcohol be banned?
Most definitely.
There.
Now then, I'm in the 3 months down a little experiment. On New Year's resolution was to stop drinking alcohol. Since I've been sort of 17, a young lad growing up, drink alcohol, lager, going out with the lads has been a regular punctuation in my social life. Last New Year's Eve, it struck midnight, saw the new year in, and I resolved then that I'd have 12 months alcohol-free. I'm now 3 months down the road. I haven't had a drink.
Good for you.
But the perceived benefits, Tommy, I'm sorry to say,
yes,
don't appear to be there.
Oh, dear.
Can I perhaps run down one or two of the difficulties I'm having, and if you can help me, I'd be delighted.
Well, let somebody else help you. Who am I? I drink.
Well,
Go on.
yes.
Go on.
Well, I don't feel any better. I thought that I'd be a little sharper when I stopped drinking. I don't. If anything, I'm a little slower. I've lost that cutting edge. I thought I'd lose some weight. I've, in fact, put on half a stone in weight. I still occasionally have to go into a pub with friends, colleagues, and I'm finding the price of alcohol-free lager exorbitant, almost double the price of the normal stuff. The only one benefit I can see is I am actually better off financially. I have a little bit more money in my pocket. My friends tell me that I've become boring, Tommy. It's not the answer that I thought perhaps it was.
Okay.
Nonetheless, I am going to see this 12 months out and see if perhaps things can improve.
Jill calls from Lancashire. You're on Talk Radio. Jill.
Hi, Tommy.
Hello.
I want to ban green beans.
Oh, now you're talking.
You know what I'm talking about, don't you?
I think I do.
They're wet and soggy and dry and bitty.
Terrible.
And they're just boring.
Now, you're talking about runner beans here?
Yeah, runner beans.
String beans.
String beans.
And that's what they are, isn't it?
String. There, whatever you want to call them.
Yes. Eddie calls from Blackpool. You're on Talk Radio. Eddie, good afternoon.
Hello there, Tommy.
Eddie.
I want to call about prohibition, actually. It just doesn't work. In regard to your last caller, by the way, did she describe beans as being wet, soggy and dry, or is there something wrong with that, or is it me?
Could be. Anyway.
Yeah. Prohibition doesn't work. Simple as that. Tried it in America, obviously, as you know.
Yeah.
And what a lot of people don't know is, in fact, that thousands of people died through making their own stuff, which was like rocket fuel.
Well, that's their fault. That's not your problem, is it?
That's what they wanted.
They're breaking the law.
Well, that's what's going to happen. They were deprived.
Well,
the working man was deprived of going to the pub after a day's work and having a couple of beers.
Yes, quite right too.
So...
So 2 leads to 3, doesn't it, Eddie?
Occasionally,
You know what they say in Portugal? 1's enough, 2's too many, 3's never enough.
Well...
That's how it goes with drink, isn't it?
You can switch it round any way you like, basically.
I'm not switching anything round, that's the truth.
What it boils down to is prohibition has been tried in America and Canada, and it didn't work.
Oh, come on, stop these sheep-like ideas, Eddie. Think for yourself for a second.
Criminalise everything.
No, your idea won't work. If you criminalise things, they'll just go underground, and, they'll be lost. You lose control of it then, and it'll just cause more problems, as we see with... all the things around us today, drugs, etc.
Yeah, if things go underground, I mean, things will always happen. You will always get criminals, won't you, Martin?
Well, people will always, if you try to hide something from somebody that everybody knows is there, and say you can't have that, we all know that it's the nature of man to go and seek what he can't have.
Not necessarily. I don't.
Of course you do, Tommy.
No, I don't.
We do it from when we're children.
No, I don't.
When we're told not to look in the cupboard, we always go and have a look in the cupboard.
I'm not a criminal. You might be. I'm not a criminal.
It's nothing to do with being a criminal. A criminal is just a term, Tommy, that we use.
I uphold the law. I accept the law. I can live within the law. To John in London, you're on Talk Radio. John, good afternoon.
Hi, Tommy. Just about the alcohol and the smoking type thing. I work within the club industry.
which, like, nearly every night of the week I'm in some club DJing to people who are either having a drink or having a smoke.
Yes.
And the tendency is if you have a drink and you're under the age of 25, you can't handle it, you end up getting in a fight and getting chucked out. But some of the clubs that I work in, people don't want to drink anything. The club owners complain about it, of course, but everyone wants to have a smoke.
Yeah.
But there's no violence in the club. Everyone's happy, everyone's laid back, relaxed, enjoying the music, and they go home. But if they have a drink, they want to have a fight before they go home. So, yeah, you should ban alcohol and legalise cannabis, so people want to socialise and enjoy themselves, put themselves in a good mood. They can have a smoke rather than a drink.
A very powerful case, very well put, if I may say.
I just wanted to say
yes,
that we should also ban politicians, because they are definitely bad for my health.
Now you're talking. Marilyn's on the line from London. You're on Talk Radio.
Hello, Tommy.
Marilyn.
It's to do with my daughter. She's in her 21st year now. She started smoking cannabis when she was about 15, 16. And to see a girl change was unbelievable. Panic attacks. She used to get me up at 3 o'clock in the morning to take her to the hospital. She thought she was dying of cancer. I've had such a life over the last 5 years. She doesn't touch it now, but even now, she'll wake up in the middle of the night and she'll come into me, Mum, can I come into bed with you? I'm feeling funny. Now, I smoked it in the 60s, but what is going in it now is anybody's business. It's not pure.
Right.
Do you understand what I mean?
I understand a great deal. I can hear what you're
saying. They melt records and put it into it.
Well, yes, that's...
The rubbish that goes into it.
Well, who knows?
This is it.
We're wondering whether the time has come to legalise certain so-called soft drugs. I'm wondering whether we should forget about legalising stuff, whether we should criminalise a few more things.
I was thinking about... We can make a case for banning things like dieting foods, because I don't think they're altogether that good for people.
And you reckon it's dangerous?
I think they are, because, they do say that dieting does you more bad than good, and I think it encourages people to slim and make people slim, which, again, makes people a bit more unhealthy, I've got to lose weight, got to lose weight. It makes people generally more ill than it does healthy.
Overweight people, fat people, obese people are effectively banned from popular culture, aren't they?
Yeah, that's true enough.
With the exception of Meatloaf.
And Don French, maybe.
That's about the size of it, and you certainly never see them used in... Well, I mean, do you have one of those catalogues that you can sort of mail order? Yeah. I mean, everybody is like a 28 waist in that, aren't they?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Besides, they don't taste very good, do they?
I wouldn't know.
Have you noticed?
I hope you're down to your fighting weight.
Breast of Tommy Boyd.
Breast of Tommy Boyd. As in any occupation which requires working with members of the public or wild animals, there is always a danger of being savaged to the point of near death. And that's exactly what happened to me on the 14th of July with our next topic.
The breast of Tommy Boyd. Shy people are arrogant.
Shyness.
Yes, I'm 66 years of age, Tommy. And I am shy. Not in any work I've ever done, but in my social life. Now, at the last commercial break, they were advertising anti-diarrhea...
Bob, we don't talk about the commercials on the radio.
Well, it was anti-diarrhea tablets, but...
Bob, I just said, no wonder you're shy. You've got a lot to be shy about. Are you stupid? I said we don't talk about what we advertise on the radio. And
I'm sorry. All right. We'll stop at that. Let's go on.
Oh, really?
Let's go on.
Yes.
I have never been shy in my working life. I've been shy in my social life, basically because I have never, ever had a sense of smell, and I am tone deaf. So if I were dancing... You still with me?
I am.
You still with me?
I'm drinking in your every
Yes,
every
well, I've
nuance
never had a sense of smell.
You're shy because you never had a sense of smell.
And I'm tone deaf.
Yes.
So I couldn't relate my ears to my feet,
Right.
to go up and dance.
Right.
One of the biggest things when I was a child
Yes.
was the lack of smell.
Yeah.
Because if anybody exhibited a noxious smell, I get blamed for it.
Yes.
Everybody else sort of cleared off.
Yes. And you wouldn't.
But in my no, that's right. I was stood there looking like an idiot.
Yes.
So I think it would have been very, very cruel to people who are shy. There are many reasons for it. Some people are disabled in a minor or a major way.
Bob, let's not recruit the disabled population to your rather amusing argument.
No, but I was disabled in that I had no sense of smell. That's
not a disability, Bob. You wouldn't get a parking space on the basis of that, would you?
No, I certainly wouldn't.
Well, let's
but
keep
can
the word
you think of the
disabled for
handicap
where
it is?
It's not a handicap at all.
Why?
What?
Why is it not a handicap? If I can't smell when I've left a chip pan on too long.
Oh, I see. So it's been a life-threatening disability for you, has it? Through your 66 years? Not having a sense of smell. Bob, there's not a connection there, is there, you see? Now, you wasted your 66 years, Bob, and you can't go back.
No, I haven't wasted it, Tom.
No.
I haven't wasted it, Tommy.
No, you haven't.
Way.
No, but you're still dwelling on the fact that you weren't as good a dancer as you might have been.
This is Talk Radio. Free call 0500 1053 89.
Okay, I think it would be a good idea to put a couple of contributors to this programme together and thrash something out, because we've got, in the red corner, Sue from Shropshire. Good afternoon, Sue.
Good afternoon, Tommy.
But I also want to bring Beth in Warrington into the conversation. Hello, Beth.
Hello.
Because Beth believes that if children are shy, it's because their parents are getting something wrong.
Beth does not believe that, Tommy.
Sorry?
Beth does not believe that.
Oh, I'm sorry. Anyway, Sue, you explain your case first.
Right, can I just say I think you're being a bit selective in using the word shy. There's another meaning of the word shy, bashful, and bashful can mean wanting confidence. Perhaps Beth could put some light on that.
I'm sure she'd love to. Hello, Beth.
Hello.
Tommy, I am really surprised at your attitude to people. I would have thought that in your position you were very aware of individuals. I agree with every word that Sue has said. Shyness is bashfulness, is sensitivity.
No.
It depends on the individual and their treatment by others, and mostly the people at school by whom they were treated badly were people of your ilk.
No, listen to me.
You are now in a situation, an authoritarian situation, whereby you can bully, and you do bully.
No, I don't.
And people listening to this know that you do.
Yeah, no, listen to me.
They need someone to counsel her and her children.
Yeah, what do you do for a
and
living,
to help
then?
her. I was a psychiatric nurse.
How long ago was
teacher.
that?
Oh, just within a few years.
What sort of an establishment did you work in?
I worked in many, many hospitals,
Yes,
many
what sort?
areas, with children, with many, many people.
People with psychiatric problems?
No, not just psychiatric problems, with social problems,
Yes.
with every problem you can name.
Well, that's very
and
worrying.
you are shy in some areas, the same
Yes.
way that everybody is.
No, Beth.
There are areas of life that you are shy in, and I fully understand
I'm
the gentleman
sorry,
who-
you're absolutely wrong.
You're
I am
not sorry.
tired.
You're
I
not
am
sorry.
sorry.
You
I'm
spoke to a
sorry
young
to
gentleman a
interrupt
while
with
ago.
you. Would you just let me explain to you
You
again?
appall me. You should not be in the situation that you are.
Would you just let me
You're
explain
harmful to
you?
people.
No, darling, I am not. I'm the
Don't
very
darling
opposite.
me, Tommy. I don't
I
need
will
people like you
darling
to
you.
darling me. You are in a position whereby
Don't
you
say
want
anything
Tommy
you've said
to come
before
over.
again.
Tommy Boyds.
Oh, God. Beth?
I bet the people who have rung you in are agreeing with me.
No.
I bet other people who... I'm not bothering to ring you in because I will never even bother to listen to you again.
Well, I'm glad.
You're absolutely
Good.
appalling.
You bob off down the line to Radio 5 then, where they've got the kind of turgid, ordinary stuff
But
that
we
you
could have better people than you.
bathe
We are
in.
wasting our money on people like you.
I don't cost you a penny.
People like you should be ousted from the work that you are doing.
Oh,
You are
that's nice,
very
isn't it? You'd like to
harmful.
see my children starve, would you?
Well, they'll go and do something else. Go to Radio 5. Or learn to be more sympathetic to people. Go on a course, a counselling course.
I thought Tommy was a champion of children.
And so did I,
was a
so did
champion
I,
of children.
So did I, too.
No,
What did you say? Let your child go and be taken apart.
Well, thank goodness they haven't got you as a teacher, Tommy, because the confidence certainly wouldn't come out if you were.
agree with you,
Well,
Sue.
I don't know what
Every
sort of a
word
teacher
you
you
say.
had, Sue, but if you're the kind of person that resorts to the dictionary every time you don't know what's
Why
going
not?
on, then you
Use
didn't
the
have a very good...
definition.
I want to be sure of my facts, Tommy, because you aren't all sure of yours.
I'm
And by the way, the radio doctor said yesterday that confidence can be learnt in a family, but it also can be genetic.
A radio doctor?
Yes, it can also be...
radio doctor?
On Talk Radio. radio.
On talk radio, a radio doctor.
He also said it could be genetic.
I'm down on my knees. The thought that I'm taking part in a conversation that also involves a radio doctor.
But you denied it was genetic, Tommy.
I denied it was ingested. I stand corrected. Did the radio doctor say anything else?
And we're talking about shyness, aren't we, Tommy? We're not talking about anything else. We're talking about shyness, lacking in confidence.
No, listen
That's
to me.
what shyness means.
We are. Yes, we are. You started the conversation, Tommy. You based it on shyness.
Yes.
But you would not define shyness.
Yes, I did.
And
you weren't listening.
So defined for you from the dictionary, that was rubbish. The radio doctor is rubbish. I am rubbish. The people who've called before are rubbish.
You listen to me, you two.
You listen, but
No,
you do not hear. You listen, but you do not hear.
Young boy, and you're good at listening, are you?
Have you never thought that shy people might have just as interesting a life, as want to have as interesting a life as you?
Shy people like you two guys are only bothered about yourself.
I'm not shy, Tommy. That's why I'm talking on the phone to you.
Now listen to me, you two.
Why should we listen to you?
Well, all right, clear off then.
You're supposed to be listening to us, Tommy. That's why we've rung in.
What?
We have rung in to
We've rung in to talk to you.
To tell you
No,
how
you haven't.
the
You've
way you are behaving and the way you've been behaving is unacceptable.
Of shallow nonsense.
It is not shallow nonsense. You are a shallow, nonsensical person.
What's the most original thought you've ever had, Beth?
I have cared for people.
That's not an original thought.
Why should I
That
take
goes
my
back
original thought to
several
you?
thousands of years.
The most original thought I've ever had was listening to you today
Yes,
and
good.
realising that you're the most shallow person I've ever listened to.
The breast of Tommy Boyd on Talk Radio.
After we'd broken out the Talk Radio first aid kit and dressed the wounds with a couple of commercial breaks and a lyric game competition, we turned our attention to that substrata of society which is always in the news. Thick people. Who needs them? Paul's on the line. Paul calls from Rochdale. You're on Talk Radio, Paul.
Yeah.
Hi.
Hi.
Yes?
So you're talking about stupid people?
Thick people, really, which is slightly different.
Oh,
but
right.
anyway.
Well, my idea of thick people is that I think that your producer must be thick.
Really? Why?
Well, for letting you come on giving a programme out like this. It's stupid. Crap. Absolute drivel.
Dribble, really. Well, you don't hear it anywhere else, do you? Why's that?
Well, I think there's only one of you, isn't there, really?
Yes, thank you so much. Yes, that's true.
So, I mean, how can you come out? How can you have the audacity to come out with a programme like this?
Well, it's not a question of
being able
audacity.
to put people down who maybe not as intelligent as you.
Well, you do it.
Oh.
But you just don't admit it.
What do you mean I don't admit
You haven't got what it takes to go on the radio and say that you actually put people down right, left and centre. That's what you do. That's your hobby. You do it all the time. You get your friends together, you talk to people you know, and you spend 99% of your time bonding by making out that everybody else isn't as good as you are. That's what you do because you're normal, because it's normal. And what we do on this radio programme is normal. And if you can't deal with normal, Paul, then go and find some other lousy radio station, some other lousy radio station that deals in sheer
Hold on a minute.
fantasy.
There's somebody here who can talk to me and put me down here, so I'll shout and bawl and try and drown him out of it. Is that what you're trying to do?
Did you listen to what I said?
Is that what you're trying to do?
Did you listen to what I
Is
said?
that what you're trying to do?
Did you listen to what I said?
It's a straightforward question for you.
I asked you a question. Can you answer it?
I'm
I made a
asking you a
statement.
question
I'm
here,
asking
and all you
you
do is shout off the top of people.
I put a point to you and you haven't responded to it.
No, I think that's the sign of like an inferiority complex.
Did you hear what I said?
Did I hear what you said? I've got no intention of listening to what you said.
Because you didn't hear what I said.
It's drivel, mate. It's drivel.
You either didn't like it or you weren't listening. Which was it?
Eh?
You either didn't like it or you weren't listening. Which is it?
Well, I didn't like it and I wasn't listening.
Well, how do you know that you didn't like it then?
Because it's absolute crap. How can you can...
I'm making a
sit there
point to
and
you,
you
and I'm
look
going to
at
make this point to you again
slagging
because it's
people off
very
who haven't
important
got
that
this.
you learn to understand something, mister.
Mister?
Yeah.
Oh, hang on.
Yeah, you learn to understand something, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Right. One of the things that bonds everybody together is a belief that they and their group are better than everybody else, and that's what we're discussing.
All right, is it now? All I'm saying is that people with intelligence should be standing up for people who haven't got the chance to stand up for their own...
No, and I'll tell you why. Because people who haven't got any intelligence, people who are thick, seem to spend most of their time trying to erode the people who have.
My definition of thick would be your producer right now for letting you go ahead with a show like this. That's my definition.
No, that's an example.
No, that's my definition. That's a definition for you.
All right, stop. No, it's not.
My
It's an example. No, it's an example. It might be a piece of evidence that you've got, but you'd have to show that it supports your argument, but it is not your definition. You're not really up to this, are you?
No, I'm not. No, I'm not. I'm thick.
Thick is not unintelligent.
Thick is
Thick is people who slap their children. Thick is people who throw rubbish away out of their car window when they're going along. Thick is people who smoke whilst they're out with their children in the high street. Thick is people who, when they get together, act cockier than they would do when they're on their own. That's thick. Is that unintelligent?
No, I'll tell you what thick is. Thick is when you can't let people choose to do what they want to do. Whether it be right or whether it be wrong, you've got no right to turn around to somebody and say that's right or that's wrong.
Yes, I have. Yes, I have. Excuse me, who else is going to stand up for children who get slapped in public and told that if they don't be quiet, they'll get something
as you say to me,
cry about?
I've got nothing more to say.
I'm standing up for children. There he goes. There he goes. Got him. Gone. Dead and buried. Dead in the water. Dead duck. Sitting target, but dead duck. Never mind. Here's Bob calling from Birmingham. You're on Talk Radio, Bob.
I've got the solution, Tommy, actually.
Okay.
Okay. Now, they are the drain on our resources, our precious resources.
Yes.
Everybody has an IQ test.
Yes.
If you fail to reach a certain standard, you deny them a vote, and you sterilise them. And that way, they'll just eventually, gradually, disappear. And the rest of us can get on with it.
They'd need some concessions in return. What about giving them a little sticker for their car so that they get privileged parking at supermarkets?
Definitely. Well, yes, but all they do now is they use the disabled bays anyway.
They do.
Don't they? Tommy, I was in the pub the other night, and you are so right. There was a family came in for a meal. They had this absolutely lovely little 10-year-old girl. Happy as Larry, she was. She was fetching the salt and pepper, the cutlery, and this, that, and the other. And all she did was look over the bar, right? The pub's an exciting place for the kid, isn't it? Yes. And the mother, what a charmer. Get down, you prat.
Oh.
Can I give you an example, Tommy?
Sure.
True life example. I can't tell you exactly where this was because I can't give away where I work. But I was interviewing a charming member of the public one day, and how this girl had got such a lovely little kid, a 2-year-old, yeah? A delicious personality, this little child. Well, the kid was in the pushchair, and in the office I was interviewing. The kid starts wriggling. They get bored, don't they?
Yes.
Obviously.
Yes.
Now, I can't use the language. She cuffed this kid round the head and said, "Stop it, you such and such, such and such." Now, I don't care. I was in the middle of an office. I had other work people there. I went absolutely berserk. I said, "I'm not talking to you as a so-and-so officer now. I'm talking to you as a bloke. If I ever see you hit that kid again, I'm into social services. I'll get it took off you. And if perhaps, maybe, I'm not blowing my own trumpet or your trumpet, maybe if a few more of us interfered, yeah, straight away, nipped it in the bud and shamed these people, it might stop." The other thing is, Tommy, it's not politically correct to mention it.
No, I know.
Now, you've got in this, I mean, I remember, do you remember an appalling programme called Crossroads?
Yes.
And Jill Harvey's husband, Stan, was having an affair. And this was actually reported in the Birmingham Evening Mail.
Yeah.
And when he was going out for a drink in pubs, blokes were threatening him for cheating on Jill. I mean,
Jackie, it is, who has popped through from South Wales. Jackie, good afternoon.
Hello.
Hello.
Tommy. I mean, I don't know what you're on, but...
What? What do you mean?
When, if someone phones you up, they evidently know your phone number to start with, don't they?
Yes. No, listen, Jackie, you're quite right. You see, if they know what the phone number is, they shouldn't be ringing to ask the phone number, should they?
I shouldn't think so.
No. So what do we know about them? They're thick.
Yeah.
Jackie, I don't know what age you are, but you can answer this question whatever age you are. Are there more thick people around now than there ever were?
Well, I don't really know. I mean, there's always been thick people around, hasn't there?
But they're a problem, aren't they, thick people? This is the question in this hour. This is the question. What are we going to do about thick people? And they're slowing us down. They're slowing the country down. They're damaging the economy. They're damaging the quality of life in this country, and we know it. But for some reason, it's considered vaguely Nazi to actually ask the question. But it isn't. Let's ask it. What are we going to do about thick people? What are we going to do about all the thick people? They don't seem to have them in France. Here's Luke in London. You're on Talk Radio, Luke. Hello? Luke?
Yep. Oh, sorry. I was somewhere else. Yeah. Tommy.
Not a good start. That's
not a good start. Okay,
not
a good start.
Not in an hour when we're talking about being thick.
Yeah, well, let's point something out first of all, Tommy. I'm not thick, all right?
Well, it didn't sound like it from the beginning.
I'm only 18, so I'm still quite young, as you're probably aware. 18 is quite young, but got 10 A's in my GCSEs, got predicted 4 A's in my A-levels, done them all, and I think I've done quite well. I don't consider myself thick, but I personally do think that you do say your number too fast. I mean, I wasn't able to catch you. I had to ring direct inquiries to get your number.
Yeah, it's a very thick thing to ring a national radio station and say, isn't it?
What?
What you just said.
What, that you say number too fast?
There's all the trouble in the world, and you want to talk about people talking too fast.
No.
Go on, then you say a number for me.
What? Okay, then 0500 10 53 89.
Well, what's the problem with that?
Because you were saying that the people who thought you said your number too fast were thick, but you do sometimes say it too fast. It just depends when you're listening, doesn't it?
Yeah, well, why do you... I mean, I took your number down, and that's how fast I say the number.
Yeah, all right, okay. the point is, Tommy, you're trying to say that all these people are thick, right? To deliberately get them to ring up and get annoyed with you, so it's something to talk about.
No, I wouldn't do that.
You don't even mean it.
I wouldn't do that. I would never do that.
Tommy, your show's the same formula every day. You play on people's... you play devil's advocate to get people to ring up.
How dare you?
It's true.
I bear my heart and soul. And what thanks do I get it from thickos like you?
You don't beat your heart and soul at all. I've seen Wackaday, right? I've seen Children's ITV. John Craven was better than you on BBC, and Timmy Mallet was better than you on Wackaday.
Yeah.
And you do Channel 5. You don't beat your heart and soul into any of it. You just love it all to take the piss out of people.
It's a very low caliber call, Luke.
It isn't a low caliber call at all.
It's a very low caliber call.
Well, you know,
I think you need to find out a bit more about life and communication and everything before you bear yourself.
Tommy, mate, you've got a low caliber show, right? You've got a low caliber show.
Well, don't listen to it then.
Yeah, I think you need to have a few words with John Craven, mate.
Don't listen to it so often then. He listens to it day in, day out. Doesn't like it. Well, he does, of course. We all know that. Now, Steve calls from Wolverhampton. Steve?
Hello, Tommy.
You're on Talk Radio. We're discussing intelligence.
Yeah. One particular group of people who I think are extremely thick are the people who wear red coats, ride horses and kill foxes and then say they're doing it for conservation. I think that's thick.
No, it's not thick.
No?
No. It's thick-skinned, you might say, but it's not thick, is it?
Or even thick-skinned even. Maybe that's a better definition.
Well, what are you doing ringing an hour about intelligence then when you want to talk about lack of sensitivity?
What am I doing? Can you repeat
What?
that?
Yeah, okay.
I can't hear you.
Oh, no. What are you doing calling a radio programme about intelligence when your subject is, in fact, sensitivity?
It is a very sensitive subject, but it's the type of intelligence of people who do that type of thing that I'm calling about.
No, you're not. You're talking about sensitivity, not intelligence. Don't you understand that?
No, I don't. I must be a bit thick.
Correct.
The breast of Tommy Boyd on Talk Radio.
Yes, this is Talk Radio. My name's Tommy Boyd, looking at the streets of Great Britain where there is far too much loutish behaviour, not just in the evenings when the pubs throw out, hanging around the chip shop, but frankly all day long. From people who seem to start drinking at 8 o'clock in the morning, from people who quietly don't tolerate people whose skin colour is different. Terrible parenting going on. I hate it when I see somebody pushing a pushchair around with a cigarette on and the cigarette smoke making its way straight up the baby's nose and the baby crying and the parent not knowing why. Bad behaviour, thick behaviour. But who is there to say something? I want to say something, you want to say something, but we can't. Or we don't. The Salvation Army are sitting quietly waiting for our call. Let's ask them to do the job. Let's give them the tools to do the job. Let's give them a car or a motorbike. Let's give them a uniform with a solid helmet and something like a cattle prod, or on Friday and Saturday evenings when they might have to go into the less salubrious pubs, a stun gun. You know, a dart gun, like they had on Daktari when they wanted to catch Clarence. Anne calls from Birmingham. You're on Talk Radio.
Hello, Tommy.
Anne.
I don't know whether to laugh or cry at your subject.
Trying to
Well, I
solve a
do
problem,
agree with a
Anne.
lot of your points, like spitting in the street. He's getting appalling
Isn't
just
it?
lately. Little outs, but
Litter. Thank
little
you.
outs.
Yeah.
But honestly, the Sally Army, you're sending us back to Cromwellian days.
No.
Because the Sally Army are very nice people. They'd have to be sadomasochists to do this job.
They do it.
But
But look,
I mean,
Anne, we need a plan because the police exist and they have existed. In fact, they predate the Salvation Army.
they do, and they're not doing their job properly.
Well, there aren't enough of them.
Well, they should get special constables in. The person, who wants to be a special constable, they'd love that. They'd love that. Not the Sally
Yeah, but
Army.
could you trust them? What test of morality is there of a special constable? What test of morality is there of a police officer?
They've got more power to their elbow. They would be able to take it off the police. I mean, the police you don't very often see. I mean, we get drumps of our alcoholics down at one end of the village here.
The point that needs to be made, Anne.
You can't stop. They shout at people.
I know. This is what we're trying to come up with a plan, all right, to prevent. Adam calls from Middlesex. You're on Talk Radio. Adam, good afternoon.
Hello there, Tommy. In my job, I do a lot of work in contact with the councils, working on roads, and if there's one thing I saw just a couple of days ago, that gets my back up. It's when builders, ugly, pot-bellied, white, smelly, badly done tattoos, nothing gets good done tattoos, I've got myself, start whistling at women walking past, whistling, "Oi, darling, sit on my face," and all that. Do you think they're going to pull? Do you think she's going to turn around and say, "Oh, take me"?
I know. Somebody's got to go in there and sort them out.
What do you think the correct form of humiliation for these idiots would be?
Well, I'd like the Salvation Army to just go in, like you used to see sometimes, the special... What were those coppers who didn't have their numbers on their epaulettes?
What? Would they use
SPG.
right so they can beat you up? Oh,
Yeah, you
SPG.
see, yeah, and I'd love to see a platoon of Salvation Army officers, all of them, you know, good big lads and the occasional good big lady too, just let loose on that building site. Because, you know, I've had stick from building sites.
Yeah?
You do.
What, was it gay builders whistling at you?
No, steady. Maybe they were, maybe they weren't. I don't know. Maybe they were trying to compensate. No, if you go on telly or you picture in the paper and it happens,
yeah.
You know, then you get stick. You get stick, and I felt very, very vulnerable and intimidated by these pillocks.
That's why they do it when they're in a group, so you know, so they can get look around and get the back up their mates. They went, oh, how about this? Right, the Sally Army get the offenders, strip them naked, and then they have to undergo 15, 20 minutes, an hour's ritual humiliation.
Ritual humiliation, I like this.
At the hands of a select group of women, and perhaps we could advertise for a select group of women for, you know, lunchtime group.
They should be made to stand on stage, shouldn't they, with cardboard signs round their necks saying things like, I whistled at a young mum.
Yeah.
And then they have to stand on stage, as you say, completely naked, and just hear the derision of a crowd of 2,000 women.
Yes.
Fantastic.
Got to be done.
Darren calls from Derby. You're on Talk Radio, Darren. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. I've been listening this afternoon about what you've been saying. I'm a Salvationist. And I would feel very awkward about being put into the position of what you're actually saying. You know, with the cattle prod and what have you. I'd feel very uneasy about that. I would look at something like, why can't we have, I don't know what we call them, behaviour wardens or something like that?
Well, but that's what we want. But why couldn't you do that? Because we trust you and we believe you when you guys say you shouldn't be doing that. Naughty. We believe you.
I don't think you'd find a Salvationist that said you shouldn't be doing that. It's a question of people's own conscience a lot of the time.
Well, they're not working, are they?
Well, probably not.
Graham calls from Nottinghamshire. You're on Talk Radio, Graham. Good afternoon.
Afternoon. Well, there's so many points to pick up on. There's a lot of things that need to be picked up in society. You know, it could be done through the schools, it could be done through education and different things like that. But the way you're suggesting and putting that suggestion over, Hitler did the same in Germany, I think, by doing different things that picked up on people, picked out.
Hark at this man. Hark at this man. He's comparing the Salvation Army to the
I'm not
Waffen-SS.
comparing you brought up the Salvation Army.
You compared them to the Nazis, not
I
me.
am not.
You said that it's what happened in Nazi Germany. You're saying that William Booth is like Hitler.
I'm not saying William Booth. Your suggestion was the Salvation Army.
Correct.
I'm just saying any group that you'd put forward as a thing. I'm not saying the Salvation Army because I'm sure they do a good job as what they do.
Well, that's what I'm suggesting.
But
So what's your argument?
I know,
Wait. You go for a better society.
Right, you put it over in that way.
What the hell does that mean? What that means is somebody's got to have an idea, and some other people have got to see that idea through. And I've got an idea, and I'm prepared to see it through. And you come along, you say, oh no, we can't do that, but what we need is a better society. That's the point, but you've got to work to achieve that, Graham. So what's your idea?
There are other ways of putting things like that.
What's your idea?
Better education.
What's your idea?
Education where everybody can see there's a job to work for.
Oh, shut up. That's a load of old pathetic
it is not.
rubbish.
Your way of
Pathetic, unimaginative, useless rubbish that doesn't work.
So a cattle prod, a swift gun, go to the Bible.
A dart gun, and compulsory worship, and Bible lessons around your house. That'll make a few people stop and think. Look, it's a military body of men and women. They're very well organised into corps, and then into divisions, and then each division reports to a territory. They're well organised. The people who work for the Salvation Army, we've all met them, we've all said hello, we've all listened to the band music. They are a fine sort. I would never cross a Salvation Army officer. I have too much respect for them, too much respect for their uniform, which is imposing, and that is important. The kind of person that the Salvation Army ought to be sidling up to and saying, are you sure you should be behaving like that, young man, is just the kind of young man who is put off by a good uniform, and they've got a good uniform. They just need tooling up to do the job. Alan called.
In principle, but you did use the worst word in the English language not more than 10 minutes ago. You used the word hell.
Hell?
Yeah, you don't believe in the place, I know.
Is that the worst word in the English language?
That certainly is.
It isn't, mate. I can say hell on the radio, but I know at least 7 words I can't say and would not want to say.
But most of those are for pastimes that are fairly enjoyable.
What are you on about, mate?
Well, think of someone who might be living a life of hell. And you've used that word, it just trips off your tongue.
What is your point? Hell, helly, hell. Hell's a poppin', hello.
Well,
hell's teeth and buckets of blood. What's the problem?
Well, I'm just glad I'm not living through hell.
Well, we're all delighted, is that it?
Well, I just hope that, 7, 8, 9 o'clock, even 1 o'clock tomorrow morning, you'll think that Alan from Suffolk, he wasn't such a prat after all.
Okay, hands up. Yeah, me too. Hands up who think he isn't. Sorry.
The breast of Tommy Boyd, the Salvation Army. Let's get them tooled up.
Linda is on the line from Ayr. You're on Talk Radio. Linda, hello.
Hi, Tommy. Right, well, first time I do agree with you.
Thank you.
There are people who need a good prod.
Yes.
And you're one of them.
What?
I think somebody should sit behind you with a prod. Oh, you're cheeky with some of your callers. You're so cheeky sometimes. I hope you're not going to be cheeky with me.
Cheeky? How old are you?
I'm 25.
I can't be cheeky to you. I'm 44, woman.
Oh, yeah.
I can't be cheeky with you. You're cheeky with people who are much older and wiser than you,
Right,
and you're not older than me, and I've got a funny feeling you're not wiser either.
Oh, ho. You don't know.
Come on then, now look, I don't know what things are like in Ayr, but we have got problems everywhere else with people who don't know how to behave in the street.
Right, well...
What are we going to do about it?
When I say I do agree with you, I was in the town this morning and in the bank held the door open wide for this old couple. Now, a couple, I would say, maybe in their 70s. I thought I was being nice, held the door wide open for them. None of them said thank you.
No.
And I would love to have given them a good prod.
Yeah, well, no, you can't, because we need qualified people doing the prodding, and that's the Salvation Army. Have you got the Salvation Army in Ayr?
Yes.
Right, so you do have a problem with drunkenness in Ayr.
Right. No, I'm saying they need somebody to say to them, that's wrong.
But what about the Salvation Army?
Well, I don't know if they would be... I think they're too nice.
Well, who then?
Well, there's plenty unemployed that could...
Oh, right, you'd rather have the unemployed going round in uniform with cattle prods?
That's right,
Well,
some of them need a good prod round as well.
I wouldn't... Well, now, that's another argument. Well, I wouldn't trust the unemployed with a cattle prod against a Christian with a cattle prod, because Christians are naturally men and women of good heart, and good judgment.
Well...
In any case, you say the Sally Army are soft. I can guarantee that if this one went through and got on the statute book, recruitment would boom.
Well, I don't mean they're soft. They're too kind to do things like that. I don't think they would even do it with an umbrella.
To Jason, who calls from Derby, you're on Talk Radio, Jason. Good afternoon.
Why should it be the Sally Army?
Well, because they're there and they're ready and they're an army. Who else? The Girl Guides?
Have you heard of the Jehovah's Witnesses?
No, I'm not sure whether I'd give them cattle prods.
Are you not?
No.
Well...
They'd want skeleton keys next, and you couldn't pretend you were out when they call. cheap remark, but probably true.
Actually, I've heard that one before.
Really?
Yeah, I have.
Yeah.
But I think they'd be just as good.
Do you?
If not better.
Well, you couldn't tell them coming, you see. I know they do. Once you know that they're Jehovah's Witnesses, you can tell. Because they're very well manicured. But if they came into the pub, or if they went up to a group of lads who were making too much of a noise and using bad language too loudly and smoking in the high street on a Friday afternoon.
Yeah.
Well, I don't think...
You can tell a mile off.
No, they're just in mufti. They wear suits, don't they?
We do wear suits.
Oh, you do you now?
We do, yeah.
You are a Jehovah's Witness.
But I must also say I'm a 19-year-old unemployed person as well.
So what?
You actually saying about the Sally Army should perhaps stand in supermarkets, I heard you say.
Yes.
Witnesses already do that. We already do that.
We shouldn't be allowed to do that.
You just said that the Sally Army should.
I believe the Salvation Army should, but I don't want Jehovah's Witnesses.
Why not?
Doing it well, because the Salvation Army are going to be doing it under our new scheme with the morality and health of the nation in mind.
Well, that's why witnesses do it.
No, you don't. You do it with the witnesses in mind.
No, they
Yes, you do. You're just recruiting.
Do you know why the
Yes,
witnesses...
you are.
You also don't know why the witnesses do it then?
Yes, we do, because you want us to join you.
No.
Yes, you do.
No, they
Yes, you
don't.
do.
Oh, they do it because of a Bible command. I mean, I'm not going to start preaching to you.
Yes, you are.
I'm not.
You already have.
I haven't.
Yes, you have.
But they don't want to feel blood guilty.
Whatever. You want us to join you.
Pardon?
All religious people want apart from the Jews, all religious people want other people to be like them.
Well, what are the Sally Army doing then?
Same thing.
So why not the witnesses? Why not the Catholics? Why not the Protestants?
Because the Salvation Army are organised like an army, and the Jehovah's Witnesses are organised like door-to-door salesmen.
They're not at all organised. I heard you describing the Sally Army, and the witnesses are organised exactly the same.
Exactly the same? What, into a corps?
For lack of the names, exactly the same.
Oh, right. The same but not.
For example, you have a
Well, every organisation's got a hierarchy. I mean, you could say that Jehovah's Witnesses are organised exactly like the cabinet, with a leader and then several people underneath the leader and several people underneath each of them. That's just a normal pyramid structure. Jason, you're young. What are you?
Young.
Yeah.
But they
Far
are...
too young to be a Jehovah's Witness, man.
I'm not. I've actually...
What about all that fun that you're going to miss out on?
Well, I've actually... I mean, people can't... Snogging, well, I've actually had relationships in the past.
No, I'm talking about snogging.
Well, I know I've actually lived with a girl in the past.
Getting tiddly behind the bus shelter.
Well, like I said, I've lived with a girl before. But
you're 19.
I know.
Aren't you going to go surfing down to Cornwall and sleep on the beach and get hungover and things?
The only thing that the only thing that my religion would stop me doing would be getting hungover. I can go down to Cornwall and surf and lie on the beach and...
But you don't get Jehovah's Witnesses surfing.
Why? Well, yes, you do.
Well, I've never seen it.
Yeah, well, I can put you down there for a start because I know for a fact they do.
Do they?
Yeah, they do.
Well, it's starting to get more interesting. Now, what else do you do then besides surfing? Do you do parachuting?
We won't do that, no.
Why not?
Because we don't see the sense in risking our lives.
I would be more interested in joining the Jehovah's Witness if you did more outdoor sports.
Such as?
Well, like I say, parachuting, mountain climbing, rock climbing, which is good.
I know.
What about bungee jumping? Do the Jehovah's Witnesses do bungee jumping weekends?
Actually do mountain climbing.
What?
I know 1 or 2 witnesses that do mountain climbing.
What about bungee jumping?
That again would be the same as parachuting. It's a personal choice. But
you don't have organised... Or what about those combat weekends? Like the Conservative Party have just had?
That's military.
You don't do that?
No, because it'd be along the military line.
But it's only paint, man.
Yeah, but...
And it's bonding.
It's not bonding. I mean, we do go out, for example, together. We'll go out, we'll engage in sports, camping holidays, all sorts of things. Witnesses do...
Have you got a football team?
Yeah, we have.
Have you?
Yeah.
What are you called?
We're not called nothing, but we've got a football team.
Well, you've got to have a name.
We haven't.
Well, you must, otherwise it would go like Port Vale 1-0.
Oh, I don't know. Witnesses Football FC, I don't know. Call them what you like.
Witnesses FC?
Yeah, call them what you like. But we have got a football team.
Have you?
Yeah. We go football.
What position do you play?
I don't play at all, I can't.
Why not?
I suffer from severe asthma.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that.
Sound too poorly.
Well, you look after yourself. It's been very interesting talking to you.
Mate,
You nearly recruited me then.
Just about.
You're dead set against parachutes, though.
That's my own personal choice.
Okay.
That is.
Thanks for your call.
Right, mate.
See you on the beach.
Bye.
I'm Tommy Boyd. This is Talk Radio. There's a good argument for listening.
The Rest of Tommy Boyd on Talk Radio. Christmas on Talk Radio, the conversation of the nation. The Rest of Tommy Boyd on Talk Radio.
Sanity. There's no such thing. All there is the whole of society encouraging you to be a good little boy or a good little girl, to conform. To be bog standard, to be ordinary, to be conventional, to be law-abiding, to play it safe, to not say boo to a goose, to keep your head down, to mind your own business, to conform, to be like everybody else, to dress the same, wear your hair more or less the same, behave in the same way, have the same priorities in your life, namely to work hard if you can get a job, to struggle to get a job if you haven't got one, and then hold that job down for 40 years, and then quietly take your pension and go away and not bother anybody else until you die. And that's sane? Do you see my point?
The Breast of Tommy Boyd. Mental health. It's not that important.
I'm going slightly mad. I'm going slightly mad.
Word with Barry, who calls from London. You're on Talk Radio, Barry.
Hello there.
Hi.
Yeah, I just want to make the point that society's always been mad.
Yeah.
I'll give you some examples.
Okay.
You owe the bank £1,000, you get a nasty letter. You owe the bank £1 million, you get an invitation to dinner.
Yes.
You know.
Yeah.
You make one person redundant. You've got a tribunal to handle. You make 1,000 people redundant. You get the Queen's Award to industry.
Yes.
That's ridiculous. You kill one person, jail. You kill 1,000, they pin the King's Cross on your chest.
Yeah, good work. Go on.
You know.
No. Is that it?
Well, for now.
For now, but it says it all, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It says it all.
It's hypocritical. Society's hypocrisy is madness.
Yeah, yet another reason, really, why we can't keep tabs, can we, any longer?
No.
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 So let's just all agree that we're all a little bit barking.
Yes.
Goodbye, Barry. Thank you for your call. Kevin calls from Northants. You're on Talk Radio, Kevin.
Hello.
Hello.
One of my jobs is I do a clown act.
Oh, dear.
Oh, dear.
Oh, dear.
And the nice little thing that a long time back my mother said, you may have heard it before, when I marched in the Easter parade as a little boy, she says, they're all out of step except my son.
Yes.
But she says, I don't mind as long as he's in the march. When I put my clown's clothes on, I reach the top and the bottom. I explode into excitement with people. And everybody says, isn't he good? I can dance in the streets with people in my clown's outfit. If I dance in the streets in my ordinary clothes, to be taken away as a troublemaker, a nuisance. Same person, different set of clothes. So in some sense, everybody deep down is a clown.
Yeah.
It's an expression of freedom to let it out and let it go. Who gives a damn what anybody thinks?
Good words, Kevin. Thank you for your call. Anne's in Somerset. You're on Talk Radio, Anne.
Well, it's the difference between madness and being eccentric. I mean, the people I've listened to, they sound more like they're eccentric. If I sort of think of madness as doing things that you really don't want to do, but
Like
something
what?
takes over and you just, that's it. But eccentric is to do things that is not classed as the norm.
I know what you're saying, but can you illustrate it? Can you give me an example of somebody doing something they don't want to do?
Well, I don't know. It's just that people think of me, they say to me that I'm eccentric because they think that a lot of the things I do
Good, like
are really
what?
strange. Well, like, talking to my rabbits. I don't kill any animals or any insects. I'm quite neurotic about that because I think, why take the light out of their life? I went to college and university in my 40s, and by the time I was 50, got my degree. That was regarded as slightly different. I'm a rock and roller, so I come to Bristol regularly and go to the Rotunda, to all the rock and roll gigs, and love all that sort of thing. And I suppose a lot of people think at my age I ought to settle down and, but I don't. I do everything that I want to do, and I don't care.
All of those things are very sane, aren't they, really? Paul calls from West Yorkshire. You're on Talk Radio, Paul. Good afternoon.
Hi, Tom.
Paul. Hey!
Must is a fruitcake.
Oh, yeah.
Must be.
Really?
Well, it's either me or it's everybody else.
Yeah.
I can walk into my kitchen now and I've got a kitchen full of food.
Yeah.
Most of which is going to end up in bin anyway. Not a substantial amount of. Or I can go to Manchester, get on a plane, and in 8 hours I'll be surrounded by starving people.
Yep.
So who's nuts? Is it me or is it everybody else?
Very good point.
Religion, you got your church on a Sunday morning, we've got X amount of billions in the bank, and they pass around the plate for all pensioners to put a pound in.
Yeah.
Is it me or is it everybody else? Well, I think you asked earlier, how do you keep saying?
Yeah.
You keep saying by admitting, but you're nuts as a fruitcake.
Yeah,
then
you have to.
It flows
You
over.
have to.
There's only so much you can shout at the 6 o'clock news.
Oh, what I know. Well, shouting at the media in general, I mean, shouting at the radio is very therapeutic. I recommend it strongly.
Absolutely.
I sometimes, not very often, occasionally, I will say something that is deliberately designed to give the listener an opportunity to shout at the radio, because I think it's an important safety valve.
It's a stress relief. It rained, I think it was the day before yesterday, and it was nice and warm, and me and my daughter decided we'd go downstairs in the garden in as few clothing as possible in the rain. And everybody said, you're nuts. No, we're not nuts. We're doing exactly the right thing. In those circumstances, everybody else.
Of course you were. Of course. Well, why does anybody go to work every day? We shouldn't, should we? I mean, we should sit around, and can't we reconstruct the world so that we do a lot more sitting around and maybe, just picking fruit and eating that?
Well, some jobs need doing.
Do they?
For people,
Do they?
Well, firemen. We need firemen.
Well, only because we've got these bloody great houses that are a pain for the rest of us because we could spend 28 years paying them off.
Well, that takes me back to my first point. We've got houses, but there's people living in mud huts. It's mind you, they don't have fire brigades, do they?
The breast of Tommy Boyd. Mental health. It's not that important.
Joanna calls from Bridgend. You're on Talk Radio, Joanna. Good afternoon.
Hello.
Hello.
You're absolutely right about the mental health. It doesn't really matter. And I'm totally mad, but because of the people and the things that are around me.
Yeah. 10 good reasons for being insane. Number 9. The universe is unimaginably vast, and we now know that the Earth is less than a speck. I mean, that's pretty depressing, isn't it?
Yes, and frightening.
I mean, when we thought that the Earth was the centre of the universe and flat and everything, and that God used to sort of sit up just above that lovely cumulus cloud.
Yes.
That was all right, wasn't it?
Yeah.
They didn't get depressed then, did they?
No, because it was safe.
Number 8. 10 good reasons for being insane. No one knows the point of their existence.
Yes.
You don't, do you? What are you meant to do, Hey, can we just pause for a second?
Yes.
I'll get you to do it with me, ready? We're discussing this today, mental health. It's not that important. Are you ready, Joanna?
Oh, go on then.
No, you do it with me.
But I do that anyway. I don't need you to help me.
Yeah, okay.
This is why I am mad, because I do things like that.
You should be mad. How can you not be mad? 10 good reasons for being insane. Number 7, our lives are so far removed from the way of life that we evolved to lead. Yeah. They're unrecognisable. I mean, we just didn't evolve to be like this in clothes and go to the supermarket for our food.
So why do we strive so hard to do it?
Well, hang on.
And be normal.
Now you're getting philosophical. Leave that alone.
Sorry.
Let's just celebrate being bonkers.
Yes.
10 good reasons for being sane. Number 6. This list is endless, so I won't do it all, ready? But it begins power lines, fluoride, mercury fillings, E numbers. Yeah?
Yes, you're quite right.
Number 5. Your mother's brother ended up in a home, and the family often say, you know, you do remind me of him. Got you. True, isn't it? Hey? Okay, 10 good reasons for being insane. Number 4, you don't believe in psychiatrists. Number 3, you do believe in psychiatrists.
Oh, that's funny.
Number 2, 10 good reasons for being insane. Number 2, you start your life inside somebody else's body. I mean, God, you do. Well, I mean, doesn't the very thought of that drive you mad?
If you think about it.
But we don't, do we?
That's right.
Because we know it will drive us mad to think that that's how we start our lives.
And what's number 1?
Ah.
I can't wait for this.
Tommy can't think of anything at this bit.
That's all I'm going to say on number 1. The main good reason for being insane.
Oh, dear. If only I had 10 reasons for being insane.
Jay calls from Harrogate. You're on Talk Radio. Jay, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Tommy.
Hi.
I'd just like to offer you a medical point of view.
Fine.
We are all insane.
Yes.
Because the fact means that you have to be proved to be insane before you can be proved to be sane. So we are actually all clinically insane. Because the only way to be proved to be insane is to be insane... proved to be sane is to be proved to be insane first.
Mike calls from Warwick. You're on Talk Radio. Mike, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Hi.
Something about experts, definition as such. X is something that's finished, and pert's a drip, so there's no way it will be a finished drip.
Mike, wise words. Thank you.
Take care.
Oh, cheero. Mark calls from Great Yarmouth.
Hi.
Hi, welcome to Talk Radio.
I'd just like to say, I think everybody's insane, really, deep down. And I've got in my own personal case that was last year, I was branded insane for showering every evening. And I had to see loads of psychiatrists and things like that, and they just made things totally worse. But there's loads of people who have 2 showers every day, and they called it obsessive behaviour. And I just thought that was a bit strange. I just couldn't believe it was happening. And if Jesus was to be put on the planet now, again, he'd be locked up straight away. I think he's totally insane.
Either that, or they'd make him a country and western act.
Yeah.
Somehow, I see him with a guitar. Where were we? Who said that having a shower every night was mad?
I haven't got a clue. They just thought it was some kind of obsessive behaviour of some sort.
Who did?
I don't. It was. I won't mention names or anything.
No, don't.
But it was just this psychiatrist, and because I
had to see a shrink, did you?
Yeah, because
what
I
age
had
was
a shower every night. That was last year. I was about 13.
Well, I suppose it keeps them in work, doesn't it? Really?
Yeah.
Why were you having a shower every night anyway?
Well, just because I didn't. Because I've been to school and like school smells of. I just started from a new high school, and it like smelled of chewing gum, and I just didn't like the odour that it put round.
This is very disturbing, Mark, because you're obviously, just like the rest of us.
Yeah, it's given me a whole new idea, because I used to think if you're mad, you're like, just go around killing people and things like that.
Well, no, that's evil.
No, I know, there's like...
There is no sanity, Mark. You know that, don't you? You're what, 14, and you know something that a lot of people twice and 3 times and 10 times your age don't know, refuse to accept. There is no sanity.
I know.
So you just be yourself.
All right, then. Okay.
Good lad.
Thanks a lot.
Yeah,
Bye.
Thank you. Thank me. Thank you. Yep. Last word on this one for today, anyway, goes to John. John calls from South Wales. You're on Talk Radio.
Good afternoon, Tommy.
Hi, John boy.
Tommy, just a couple of points about reasons why we should be insane.
Yes.
First of all, you're always alone inside your head.
Yeah, that's a very good point.
The second was, Tom, that don't you feel sometimes that you're constantly suppressing all those myriad thoughts that are going through your head and you're not able to get them out and scream them out,
Very good point.
and that you're acting in a play, and it's not really you. You're not giving to everybody around you what's really inside you.
No.
You have to conform to a certain set of rules, alleged rules, and you have to behave to a certain criteria, and you can't really be yourself because you'd be judged insane if you were to give vent to those thoughts that constantly whirl around your head. A simple thing like standing in the queue at a bank and there's only one teller operating over lunchtime.
And you want to
And you want to explode, yeah.
And that's a madness, but it goes on inside your head. John, it's been delicious listening to you. Thank you so much for your call.
I'll call you again, Tom.
If I ever heard or were lucky enough to hear Dylan Thomas speaking, I know that he would speak with your voice. Thank you for your call.
Thank you, Tom.
Bye now.
Bye.
I'm Tommy Boyd. This is Talk Radio. There's a good argument for listening.
The Crest of Tommy Boyd on Talk Radio. Another Parking Meter on the Roof Christmas special production from Voice Over America, exclusively for Talk Radio. Ho, ho, ho.
Don't forget to subscribe and like. Comment too if you wish. Even slap your legs and make a purchase from Ann Summers. But don't do nothing.